Joe and the City Rhythm Orchestra takes you through it like nobody else. The perfect Father's Day gift.
See Joe Conklin and the City Rhythm Orchestra at Wildwood High School on Baker Ave, Friday, July 11th. And with Rob Ellis at the Ocean City Music Fair, Saturday, July 12th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
You are not your diagnosis.
And vision loss does not define you.
Your drive defines you.
And we are here to let those challenged with blinding retinal diseases know
that we are driven too.
To be a beacon of strength.
A champion of courage.
An advocate for hope.
And we are stronger together.
We fund.
We fight.
We win.
We are the Foundation
Fighting Blindness.
Join the fight at fightingblindness.org.
On top of first-class care, you will never receive a bill. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Kathy Barnette. On Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Yes! Money, 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 money! Money is flowing everywhere. There's so much. And we're going to talk about it over these next 3 hours. Yes, you can start turning that down a little bit. Hello, everybody. How are you? This is Kathy Barnette, and you are listening to a special right here on the #1 talk radio station in all of Philadelphia. Yes, that's 1210 WPHT. So, hello, Pennsylvania. Hey, what's up, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland? How are y'all doing? Here is the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. Let's get into it, because right now, the House is looking at a actually, it's probably one of the most consequential bills that is in front of them right now at this moment, and that is the reconciliation bill. I know y'all been talking about it. A lot of people have been talking about it. We're going to do some deep dive. We're going to talk about some cultural things because there's so much to get into. And I have Congressman Scott Perry. We have an interview with Senator Joni Ernst. We have Brandon Straka is going to be stopping by. So we have so much to get into. But I started off with that song, Money, 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 because yes, there is a lot of money flowing all across this nation. Over the past 50 years, America has grown extremely rich. But who exactly is getting that money? Who has been getting rich this entire time? Because it is certainly not the middle class. You know, if you look at these various charts, and I have them, you can go to my Twitter page at Kathy, the number 4 Truth, Kathy, number 4 Truth. I put out some charts out there for you guys can look at as well, because, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Our nation, I mean, we have had an economic boom over the past 50 years. But the people who have not gotten any of this boom, who have not been the beneficiary of all of this money flowing throughout our nation, has been specifically the middle class. And as a matter of fact, I mean, no one even talks about the middle class any longer. If you think about it for a moment, that the people we talk about, either we're talking about the top 10% in this nation, really, really rich people, or we're talking about the bottom 50%. Because the bottom 50%, if you think about that Maslow hierarchy of needs, all of their needs are being taken care of, right? We got the government, i.e. you and me, paying for their rent, paying for their food, paying for their insurance, paying for their health care. We pay for their phone. They're trying to give them coats and cars, everything. They essentially, all they have to do is just wake up and breathe. And the rest of us, specifically those of us in the middle class, are paying for them. So you have the top 10% where all this money has been flowing to. And then you have the bottom 50%. Basically, we're taking care of all of their needs. They don't even have to do much any longer. But it's the it's the 40% of us, the middle class, that is getting the squeeze. It is dire. It is despair. And I saw it so clearly when I ran for U.S. Senate. We were traveling over 1,500 miles every single week, all across Pennsylvania. And then I was the first person to join the Vivek Ramaswamy presidential campaign. And there too, now I'm traveling all across the nation and I'm looking at the middle class. No one is talking about us. No one is thinking about us. There's no conversations. But if you look at any of these charts from 1971 to today, over the past 50 years, over $22 trillion of the nation's wealth has flowed into the hands of the top 10%. The top 10% of this nation, they control over 70% of the nation's wealth. And at the exact same time, over those 50 years, the middle class, the ones in the middle, our wealth has decreased by $18 trillion. So our productivity has never been higher. It looks like a hockey stick, but our wages have been flat from 1971 to today. And you have to ask the question, with all of this money and everything that is going on, that is flowing, what has happened to the middle class? And although this reconciliation bill that our House of Representatives are looking at right now is not perfect, I would love for y'all to call and let's talk about it. It is not a perfect bill whatsoever. It is not a silver bullet. And yet, I truly believe it's like the leverage point that allows, for the first time in a very long time, for the middle class to be able to grab on and be able to pull ourselves up. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And again, this bill is not a silver bullet. It's not a magic wand. All of our problems are not going to be solved. And yet, there is nothing more consequential right now going on. And so, but I was always thinking, and you guys may remember him. I'm going to ask you, Sean, to pull up cut number 8B, Alex Acosta. Let's play that, because you have to, as we move forward in these next 3 hours, we're going to talk about how we pivot, what we do to make sure you and I, the 40% of us in the middle, we missed out on the first 50 years. Let's make sure we don't miss out on the next 50 years. Because one thing I do know is that this bill is going to pass. And when it passes, we want to make sure that this time around that we, the middle class, the ones who are actually, it's our productivity that is giving the top 10% all of their wealth. It is our taxes we're paying that is making life very comfortable for the bottom 50%. Let's make sure that when this bill passes, that it passes on terms that puts the spotlight on us. And I was talking to my good friend Alex Acosta. He was the 27th U.S. Secretary of Labor under Trump's first administration. And I was asking him, how did we get here in the first place? Do you have that clip, Sean? Let's play it. Is what Democrats doing working? Is it moving people, right? So whether you're talking about the Tesla, Molotov riots, the hands-off riot, Cory Booker sitting for 12 hours on the exact same stairs that Newt Gingrich ran down with a contract, Cory Booker is sitting. I think there's some great symbolisms there. But nonetheless, is it working? And some of the polls I've seen suggest it's not really moving a lot of people, but it is galvanizing their base. It's keeping their base alive and active and on their toes. What do you say?
Well, a lot of those polls, they want it to be working, but it's not. And a lot of those... So
okay, wait, hold up. Like, that's the wrong one. I want you to pull up Alex Acosta. That's clip 8B. But in the meantime, can you bring my first guest, Rich Lowry, on? Is he available to come on right now? Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Hi, Kathy.
Hey.
Good to be with you.
Yes, absolutely.
You got a great show You got a great show lined up, and I'm honored to be part of the lineup.
Absolutely. Rich Lowry, for those of you who do not know him, he is the president and chief investment officer at Park Edge Capital. You were the economic advisor for the late, great Herman Cain. In fact, it was you who came up with, Herman Cain used to say, the 999 plan when he talked about his economics. No one can say 999 quite the way Herman Cain said it, but you were the brain behind that, and you were also my economic advisor when I was running for U.S. Senate, and we talk all the time, and I wanted to bring you on air to talk about this reconciliation bill. How did we get here? We're going to bring that up in a few moments with Alex Acosta, kind of giving a quick overview of how we got here to where 70% of the nation's wealth is in the hands of only 10% of the nation, and where the middle class has been doing all the work but gotten none of the benefit, and now we're looking at this reconciliation bill. So let me just pivot to that, because where we are is that we are beginning to create a nation of rulers and renters. When you have the middle class being squeezed out of existence and having to pivot to subsidies from the government, and all the money is flowing into the hands of a very few people, you're beginning to create a nation of rulers and renters. How do we prevent that? Let me just start there.
Well, I mean, to me, you have to focus on the Federal Reserve. As we've talked about before, if you go back to post-World War II, you had 23 years of a rising tide lifts all boats. Bottom 90% income went up 86%. Top 10 income went up about 85%. That was the so-called golden age of the middle class that ended in 1971. During the decade of the 70s, we finally achieved equality, but it was equality of misery. And then into the 80s and 90s,
we
had
were
Fed
all
governors
miserable. But let me just interject. We were all miserable back in the 70s. The top 10% was miserable. The 40% of the middle class was miserable, and the bottom half of the bottom class of the nation they were miserable. And then all of a sudden, things shifted to where some of us began to accumulate a tremendous amount of wealth, while the rest of us began to carry the load.
Yeah, well, during the 80s and 90s, you had Fed governors who, although they didn't have an explicit mandate to stabilize the dollar, they knew that was what the Fed should do. And the importance of that is from the late 90s on until this day, the Fed thinks that wage growth is bad. The Phillips curve tells them that when unemployment gets too low, wages are going to go up, and that's going to force businesses to raise prices. And, go back to Janet Yellen's Senate confirmation hearing in the late 90s. According to her, the lesson of the 70s was you can never let a wage price spiral ever engage again. So what's happened, the Fed got hijacked by academics, I say starting in around 97, 98. Since then, it's been dominated by academics who think that when wages go up, it's bad. So look at their actions. And what they've done since then is anytime you've had economic growth reach down and start to benefit the bottom 90%, the Fed reliably raises interest rates to tighten the economy, to slow the economy down, to choke off any further wage gains. It's a pattern that has repeated itself ever since.
Time and time
again. And bottom 90% income peaked in 2000. Yeah,
right.
It peaked in 2000.
And it's really
bottom
amazing.
90 was the most prosperous.
And it's really amazing is that
Go
from
ahead, I'm sorry.
from 1971 to today, the wages of the working class, the middle America, has not shifted that much at all. And it really is because of a couple of things. There's a lot of structural things. And yes, the asset bubble, everyone's pivoting to the stock market and what the Federal Reserve has done, but also globalization, taking our jobs and sending them across the world. All of those things has had a detrimental effect. When we get back from this break that we're about to take right now, let's talk about the GDP. Let's talk about what our House of Representatives are doing, because again, this bill that they are considering is not perfect, but it is going to pass. The odds are high in our favor that the bill is going to pass. And when it does, although it's not perfect, there are some things in there that we want to make sure are in there. So we're getting ready to go to break, but make sure, guys, and if you're in Pennsylvania listening to me, today is our primary. We have school board races that are school board campaigns that are going on right now. The polls are open, I believe, until 8 p.m. So if you have not voted, get out and vote. I see y'all on the other side. Here's the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
I really need funding to expand my inventory.
Swish Funding can help you expand inventory, upgrade equipment, and boost your cash flow.
Well, okay, but I need funding fast.
Swish Funding provides funding from $25,000 to $2 million with payment terms tailored to your needs and cash in your account in less than 24 hours.
So what's the catch?
No catch. If you've been in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000, you could qualify. Just go to swishfunding.com to apply. That's swishfunding.com.
Hey, this is Larry Steinhaus with Investor Schooling. Listen, I know sometimes you worry about coming to see me because you don't want to invest in real estate, because you don't want to deal with toilets, trash, or tenants. I'm going to teach you a way that you don't have to deal with toilets, trash, or tenants, or even own any real estate and invest in real estate at the same time. You want to learn this, so go to investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com and take a complimentary class this Thursday, and I promise you, no toilets, no trash, no tenants.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/radio, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs, with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Hey, it's Nick Cale here. You've heard me talk about the extensive crossover and SUV lineup available at Piazza Mazda. And right now, they are offering 1.9% financing on the capable CX-50, the 3-row CX-90, and the CX-70 plug-in hybrid. The sleek Mazda CX-5 and sporty CX-30 are available at 2.9%, all for 36 months. Shop with confidence at Piazza Mazda in Westchester or Reading, as current inventory is unaffected by new tariffs. Visit PiazzaMazda.com today.
Odyssey and Wendy's are partnering to help children in foster care find forever homes. Here's your chance to help this effort and enjoy a delicious Wendy's Frosty treat. Now through May 25th, simply head to any participating Wendy's and purchase a book of 6 free Junior Frosty coupons for just $1. The net proceeds will help the Adoption Center find forever homes for children in foster care. So head to your nearest Wendy's and buy a Frosty coupon book today at participating Wendy's while supplies last.
Free speech lives here. With Dom Giordano, weekdays noon till 3 on Odyssey's #1 talk station, 1210 WPHT.
Money, 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 money. Yes. much money out here flowing around, y'all. Let me tell you, our nation has probably never been more rich. There's probably never been so much money in circulation, whether actually in circulation in the market or in people's bank account. There is a tremendous amount of wealth. And as I said at the very opening of all of this, is that the past 50 years, the middle class we have missed that boom. We need to start having a conversation to make sure we do not miss the next 50 years because all that Donald Trump is doing of reshoring, bringing investments back into this country, Make America Great is becoming the brand now across the nation. We want to make sure that whatever comes out of this reconciliation bill that our House of Representatives are debating over right now, deliberating over, that somehow it creates a leverage point for the middle class so that we can begin to position ourselves as best as we can to make sure that as this money flows, it doesn't just flow into the hands of the top 14 families in this country. You guys are listening to the Kathy Barnette Show, a special version of the Kathy Barnette Show tonight. So you are with me for 3 hours. Yep. And here's the call-in number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. Call in, jump in. Let's have this conversation. Now, Rich, let me get back to you. This is my good friend, Rich Lowry. He is the president and chief investment officer at Park Edge Capital. You were the economic advisor to the late, great Herman Cain, as well as my economic advisor when I ran for U.S. Senate. Now, Rich, you and I can talk, and we have talked 4 hours about the minutiae of all of these numbers and economic theory and the GDP. We can't do that here, but I thought it may be beneficial because, as we begin to pivot to focus on how we grow ourselves out of this mess. A lot of people, because either you can cut your way out of this mess, right? And everyone, if you go on social media, Rich, they're talking about, we just need to focus on cutting the debt and cutting the deficit. Newsflash, I do not believe the Republican Party has the spine to do the heavy lifting of putting into or cutting these entitlements, whether it's SNAP, Section 8, the Green New subsidies. We do not have in the Republican Party the spine collectively to do the hard cuts. I think a lot of people have gotten real comfortable with the way we spend. And so the alternative becomes to grow our way out of this. And I earnestly believe that that is Donald Trump's plan. Every time I hear Secretary Bassett speak, he talks about trade, taxes, deregulation. That is the cornerstone of Trump's economic agenda. Donald Trump has done a lot with the trade. We've been hearing about that for the past several months. Now we're going to leg number 2 of this 3-legged stool, and we're talking about taxes. That is what our representatives are doing. But let's talk a little bit about that GDP number, Rich.
Yeah, well, I think every problem that we face traces back to our lack of growth since 2000. We've had awful growth since then, and that is what produces the spending problem and the deficit problem and the debt problem. I think the main thing is we've lost sight of what really drives economic growth. So picture a train going down the tracks and having a debate about whether the engine is pulling the train or the caboose is pushing it. Production is the engine that pulls the economy along. It's not pushed down the tracks by consumption. But if you took a poll, most people would say, well, the consumer is 2/3 of GDP. That's what drives the economy. Or worse, government spending drives the economy. That's not it at all. Production is the only thing that grows the economy, and business investment is the fuel.
And what's interesting, but one moment, but just one moment. And what's interesting, you said about 2000. What happened in 2000 that caused us to begin to shift our attention from producing things in this country to just consuming and spending?
Well, I mean, I mentioned the Fed earlier. I do think that was a crucial turning point because the Fed has operated since then as if growth is bad.
But I mean, but beyond the
growth.
beyond the Fed, what about sending all of our manufacturing capabilities to China for the most part? Did that have anything to do with us becoming a nation of consumers?
I mean, that's part of it. The rebate checks that George Bush sent out under the guise that, hey, it's going to put money in people's pocket and spending is what drives the economy. He stood at ground zero and said, go to the mall. I mean, just crazy stuff like that.
I remember that.
The caboose pushes the train down the tracks. So I think part of the reason is if you look at when they report GDP, the format that they report it is GDP equals consumption plus government spending plus investment plus net exports. And all that does is say what happened to the GDP that was produced. Where it gets misused is when people look at that format and say, well, if we want to increase GDP, just increase any of those components, as if increasing something on the right-hand side of the equation is automatically going to increase something on the left-hand side. And it just does not work that way. The way they report GDP is like your pay stub. And you would think someone was crazy if they looked at your pay stub and said, Kathy, if you want to increase your income, just increase the amount that is direct deposited into your bank account. You would think they were silly. Or worse, if they said, just increase the amount that you send to government. You would think they're silly. So the only thing that drives economic growth is business investment.
And that
Every
is
dollar
what
of business
Donald
investment
Trump
generates 45 cents.
on the dollar, right? And that is and that's why I said, Trump has not come straight out and said it, but I believe that his intent is to, I believe what he's signaling and what Bassett, Secretary of Treasury Bassett, has been doing is signaling to the market and to those who are aware that our intent is to grow our way out of this mess, because it is certainly a mess. We're already at a $2 trillion deficit. Now we're looking at a $2.3 trillion deficit. This is unsustainable. And I almost feel like we've been saying it's unsustainable for a very long time. And yet here we are.
Yeah, we are getting to the point where the size of the debt relative to the economy is an issue. The size of the deficit, and the Treasury has about $11 trillion of Treasury securities to sell over the next year, and that's going to be a challenge. So unless we get the economy growing faster. And it's pretty simple. All you have to do is say, what rate should we grow at? I think if we grow at 3.5%, we forestall insolvency of entitlement programs. If we get from, say a 2% that CBO thinks we're going to grow at to go to 3.5%, you can do the math on that and say, what is an extra 1.5% of economic growth? What does that equate to in GDP terms? Divided by 45%. And that tells you how much business investment you need. The entire conversation we should be having right now is how do we get roughly 1.1 trillion more of business investment every year.
And that is what Donald Trump is doing with the trade. So if you look at the three legs on a stool that Donald Trump and Secretary Bassett has been talking about. We've been talking about one of the legs being trade, the other leg being taxes, and the third leg being deregulation. So Donald Trump with the trade, what he's been doing with the tariffs and literally reordering world order or the economic order of the world is what he has been doing with these reciprocal tariffs and how aggressive he was going in with China, going back and forth. And it is working. Nations are taking the knee and coming and having a conversation. And what's really interesting is that I have yet to hear a nation say, no. We weren't taking advantage of the United States. Oh, no. We weren't doing any of these things that Donald Trump is accusing us of charging more, and being really aggressive and having a closed market. No, I haven't heard one nation say, no, this is unfair what Donald Trump is doing, because it's not true. We have not been taking advantage of America. And so Donald Trump is literally reordering. That's one leg of the economic stool. The other is what the House of Representatives are debating right now.
On that, on that, there's a much more direct path to it and a more effective path to it,
I know.
Is to change the tax code so that we tax domestic consumption.
But we're not having that conversation.
All imports.
But we're not having that
subject to the same-
conversation. I mean, but the reality is, Rich, is that we're not having that conversation.
We're not.
And I don't believe that our legislators are willing to have that conversation. And it's unfortunate that Donald Trump, for the first 100 plus days, has not really had to pivot to Congress to do anything. He's been kind of doing it all on his own.
He had the biggest mandate that we've seen in 50 years, and Congress should have had a bill ready for him that would have done just that.
But they did not. And so what we do have is this reconciliation bill after 100 plus days, and now they're struggling to get that passed and to come to an agreement. But that is the Republican Party. Rich Lowry, President and Chief Investment Officer at Park Edge Capital, thank you so much for being on, sir.
Thanks for having me, Kathy.
Absolutely. You are listening to The Kathy Barnette Show, a special edition of The Kathy Barnette Show. Here's the call-in number, 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210. Talk to y'all on the other side.
Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10.
Whether it's Pennsylvania or New Jersey, obviously New York, the Northeast, they might have the best little mom and pop bakeries of any region of the country. Whether it's tomato pie or delicacies and desserts, cannolis. No wonder why we're all fat in the Northeast.
The bike ride is 2 months from tomorrow. So, there's still plenty of time to train if you're not in bike shape.
Start your day with Kale and Company, weekday mornings, 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Business owners everywhere are raving about ZipRecruiter's new feature, Zip Intro, which does the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates to meet with you as soon as the next day. So we decided to call up some of these employers and hear their stories. Today, we're on the phone with Pilates studio owner Crystal M. Harris. Crystal, how has Zip Intro helped you hire?
Well, I was opening a Pilates studio in McDonough, Georgia, and I needed to staff up quickly. Zip Intro did the work for me. It helped me find enthusiastic candidates who matched my qualifications perfectly.
That's great.
Yeah, I had my Zip Intro session on Tuesday, did all the interviews by Thursday, sent out the offers on Friday, and they started on Monday. Because Zip Intro did most of the work, I saved so much time.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, you can try Zip Intro for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-280-2424. 800-280-2424. That's 800-280-2424.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Do not miss out on the memorial sale at Rescue Natural Supplements going on now. With prices rising across the country, Rescue is rolling back pricing to the year 2010. Plus, enjoy their fantastic buy 2 bottles, get 1 free, and buy 3 bottles and get 2 free memorial deals. Stock up on your favorite, save big with Rescue rollback pricing, generous free bottle offers. Whether you're in need of 1250 omega-3s, cholesterol supporters, probiotics, or natural pain relief, everything is on sale. To order, call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Speak to a Rescue product consultant or shop online at res-q.com. res-q.com. Don't miss this opportunity for huge savings on over 50 Rescue products to tackle your health goals. Remember, 2010 rollback prices and the memorial deals are going on now through May 29th. So go shop res-q.com. That's res-q.com.
The headlines about Social Security are scary. What do you do if they cut back? Tune in to the Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen, Saturdays at 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the bricks at? I give him that diddy bop. Like, take that, take that, take that, take that. I'ma put in work. I'ma do that ASAP. Throw my faith in rap. But it say, don't say that, huh? When I'ma turn down.
Yeah, I can do this all day. You guys are listening to the #1 talk radio station in Philadelphia, WPHT 1210. You guys are listening to me. You know, one time I was in here doing the show and someone from Michigan called in. So it's not just Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. Someone called in from Michigan once. And so a lot of people are listening in. If you want to call in, here's the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. And so I have a couple more people who are going to be calling in a few moments. But let me tell you why this matters, to me anyway. Most of you know my story. I grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama. I grew up below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. I grew up, I often say we were so poor, we couldn't afford the other O. We were just po. And yet, I don't recall anyone ever saying to me, Kathy, you're a victim. I don't remember anyone ever saying to me, Kathy, you're black, you're a woman, you're poor. Hang it up, kid. Call it a wrap, right? I don't remember anyone ever saying that to me. I felt like if I work hard, keep my nose clean, do some things like, wait to get married before I have children, go to college, learn about how to manage my finances, that if I do some basic things in life, that I could create a life for myself. And that is what I went about doing. And I was talking to Dr. Ben Carlson once. We were just sitting and chatting for a moment, and most of you know his story. He grew up very impoverished as well. And I had asked him once before that, did he believe that if he was in that dire economic situation today, if he would be able to climb his way out? And we both agreed. We both believe it would be next to impossible for us, if I was on that pig farm today, to be able to climb my way out of that by just doing the right things. It has become so difficult to provide, to pay your bills, to send your kids to school, to take a vacation, to just breathe. Most people have, I can't remember the number right now, but the number of people who have 2 and 3 jobs. You have your main job, and then you have to go out and do a gig job. You got to go and drive Uber or Lyft or whatever, or work somewhere else just to make ends meet. And for the past 50 years, there's a lot of money There's a lot of money out here, but the middle class has not gotten any of that. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to say a little bit. We haven't gotten any of that. Our portion of the national wealth of this nation has decreased by $18 trillion, while the top 10% has increased by $22 trillion. I see Mark is on the line. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, what really ticks me off is that, the people who sit on their duff and don't do anything get their $10,000 food stamp cards, and I'm sitting at home recovering from surgery with the cheesy little disability from my company.
Yeah, how about that? It's not really fair.
And on top of it, I was listening all day, and the bill gave a 5-year leeway for able-bodied people to do something.
Right.
Why can't it be now?
Why can't it be now? I agree.
Now, tomorrow.
Right. Exactly. Why not? Especially if you're being identified as able-bodied, meaning you are able to work. Why not now? And again, I earnestly believe it has more to do with the strength of the spine of the Republican Party to actually enact that right now.
And Kathy, I'll be 64 years old in August. Right? When I was 19 and I started working out of high school, I would see the lines come out of the Girard Bank, right? Because you knew it was welfare day. Like, every day was welfare day. And yet the circuit daddies would be in their caddies parked in another bank's parking lot waiting. I remember, because that was back in the day when you had to go in the bank to get your welfare benefits and your food stamps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we absolutely have a problem in this nation. Mark, thank you so much for calling in. I truly appreciate it. We absolutely have a problem in this nation with the bloated entitlements. Mr. Joe Penland, I see you're online, sir. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Kathy, and yourself.
I am doing well. I'm sure you heard all that, all of what I said, what the caller said before. What are your thoughts?
Well, we've grown too big. We subsidize too many and we've promised too much. So we're going to have to pull back on a lot of things that people have grown accustomed to, unfortunately. We do not want to take anything away from somebody that is truly down and out and can't help themselves. But if you're able-bodied, you need to get up and go to work.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I remember as a kid, my mother made $1 too much, and so she did not qualify for anything. So we were poor, so poor, like I said, we couldn't afford the other O. But somehow, when they did the math, she was $1 too much. And so she didn't qualify anything, but I would see children, who were living in Section 8 type housing with leather jackets and nice shoes on. And I remember what that felt like as we were standing in front of an empty refrigerator door or sitting in the house with no lights on. And in fact, it motivated me to want more, to want to do more. But now the reality is that, there are some who are in great need, and we as a nation, we want to be there. But then there are a lot of people who have been gaming the system, so much so that our legislators know it. That's why they put this work requirement in there, but they're extending it for 5 years. But the reality is that I do not believe our representatives have the spine to do deep cuts. So the other alternative, which I think is perhaps the better alternative, is to grow our way out of this deficit and debt.
Well, you're right. I probably, years ago, I'm 75, so years ago, when you got up to be about 18 years old, the old family, I guess you knew this was coming. They're going to break your plate. You had to leave home. And nowadays, people don't leave home or they come back.
Well, they
But
can't afford to
right.
leave home now. The children can't afford to leave home. Things are too expensive.
Well, it is. That's 50% of it, but a lot of the children don't want to work either. So you got to look at that too. You know, when you look at December 2024, when the United States Chamber of Commerce said if every man and woman took a job in their field in this country, we still have 8 million jobs we couldn't fill. Now, you tell me what's wrong when you got 100 million people not working and there's 8 million jobs and they're not taking them. So we've got a problem there. But, you know, you're right to comment on what you said about growing yourself out of this. We can't cut $2 trillion a year out of what we're spending. You have to grow your economy. And the only way to do that is you have to get more people working, and you got a lot of people sitting on the couch or taking money that they shouldn't take. But you know, if we're going to get $7 trillion worth of commitment back to this country to build things, $6.5 trillion of that would be built in foreign countries, and we'll have to bring it in here because we won't have the manufacturing to build these factories here. And that's what happens every day. We unload barges of vessels and tanks that are built overseas to build our refineries here today. We just don't have the workforce, and it's so sad that we've got ourselves to this. But you know, you don't have to pay your debt off, Kathy. We don't have to pay our $37 trillion debt off. We just got to get it manageable. And we got to get our GDP in line, and we can get there. But we have to know that we've got to make some cuts. We got to reform some programs. You know, when Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton and those two gentlemen worked together with Congress, then they balanced the budget 4 times, paid it down twice. They had to make some cuts. But you know, percentage-wise, he had more people working then than what we have today. Now, you tell me what's wrong with that.
Yeah,
you got to work.
Our job participation rate is roughly 63%, and in 5 years, they are expecting that number to drop back down to COVID levels of 60%. Because then during COVID, as you guys remember, a lot of people were told to stay home. What in the world would cause our nation, like why are we projecting that the participation rate is going to go down? Well, there's a lot of things that are going to go on. You're going to have a large number of baby boomers exiting the job market, and we have very low birth rates. You see Elon Musk talking about that all the time out there on Twitter. But you're right. We got to find a way to get able-bodied people back into the workforce. We have to begin. You have a number of students who are not graduating from high school. That is also being factored into this. And so we have to upskill. We have to encourage family formation in this family. But when we come back from this break, I want to talk about something you always discuss with me, Mr. Penland, and that is how are we going to have people to fill these jobs that Donald Trump is bringing back over here to America. So hold on one second, sir. We're going to be right back. You guys are listening to the Kathy Barnette Show. This is my guest, Mr. Joe Penland. He's a businessman turned political activist. He was the one who sponsored the Tucker Carlson live tour that came through Pennsylvania and all across the nation. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. Let me tell you about my buddy, Dr. Mike Veneria. Great guy. Whether you're looking for pediatric, general, cosmetic, or implant dentistry, look no further. Dr. Veneria and his award-winning team, they have your whole family covered, just like mine. Dr. Veneria's office exceeds CDC guidelines and has always maintained the strictest infection control with centralized UV sterilization of airflow to ensure your safety. Locations right over the bridge in Cinnaminson and Woodbury, 856-786-2020 or veneriadental.com.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Train service on New Jersey Transit is rolling again after New Jersey Transit and the Engineers Union came to an agreement. Delaware County officials work on a path forward after the loss of the Crozier healthcare system and its Pennsylvania primary day.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
NASCAR champion Bobby Labonte here with my brother Terry and my nephew Justin. You know, every sport has its essential safety gear.
For racing, we wear helmets, fire-retardant suits, and Nomex gloves.
For fishing, waterfowl hunting, and boating, we wear life jackets.
After an intense race, there's nothing more relaxing than bass fishing.
Or a little duck hunting on the lake.
But we're the first ones to tell you, on the track or on the water, accidents happen fast.
In a crash, there's no time to put on a helmet. And when a boater capsizes or is thrown from the boat, there's rarely time to reach a stowed life jacket.
But today's life jackets are lightweight and comfortable. Fishing or hunting, they don't get in your way.
That's why you won't catch a Labani on the water without a life jacket.
Don't let us catch you either. Remember, you're in command. Boat safely.
This message brought to you by the United States Coast Guard. For more information on boating safety, visit www.uscgboating.org.
Alcoholics Anonymous. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There is a solution. You can find us at aa.org.
Free speech lives here with Kaylee Company weekday mornings on Odyssey's #1 talk station, 1210 WPHT.
They don't love you, PA, like I love you. You're listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show. I am going to be with you from the 7 to 10 o'clock, leaving out at 10 time frame. And we're talking about a little bit of everything surrounding what our House of Representatives are debating, contending with right now, and that is making sure that they get this bill, this reconciliation bill, out of the House and move it on to the Senate. So Joe from Texas.com. You guys can go and find out more about Joe from Texas.com. This is Mr. Joe Penland. He is a businessman turned political activist, and I met you when you were you were one of the sponsors for the Tucker Carlson Live Tour, and I think that had a tremendous impact on Donald Trump getting back into office and doing the various things that he's doing. Now, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, every time I listen to him, he finds a way to signal what Donald Trump's economic plan is, and it looks like a three-legged stool. It's trade, it's taxes, it's deregulation. And so that signals to me, and I'm sure to Wall Street and to others, that Donald Trump recognizes we are not going to cut our way out of. I wish we could. I wish we could get rid of the deficit. I wish we can get rid of all of this debt. I wish we can cut all of this spending. But y'all know as well as I do, people have gotten a little fat on the hog, and it's going to be very, very difficult to make the types of cuts that we need. And so we have to have a conversation around growing the economy, producing things again in this country, making things again in this country. Hence the reason why Donald Trump, there is a logic to what appears to be madness for a lot of people concerning what Donald Trump has been doing, going across the nation, coming back from the Middle East with several trillions of dollars of investments and bringing manufacturing businesses back to this country. But Mr. Penland, you have been very clear even before I fully appreciated what you were saying, that we're going to have another problem. It's not our problem right now in this exact moment, because right now we're all focused, all eyes on this reconciliation bill. But immediately after this reconciliation bill, the next problem on the horizon we're going to have to really begin to talk about, and that is who is going to work these jobs that Trump is bringing back to the country. With all of the repatriation and reshoring of investments and manufacturing back to this country, there are reports that we're looking at an additional 1 to 2 million jobs, some of them upskill types of jobs. But where are we going to find the people to work these jobs?
We're going to find them the same place that we found them during World War II. We're going to have to bring foreign labor into this country if we can't get people motivated off the couch. We did that from 1942 to 1964. We had to do that because our young men and women that went off to war, and we couldn't pick our crops. We could not work in the factory, so we had to do something. That's what we've done. We need to reform immigration. You know, immigration is a good thing if you do it in the right way. You know, 1894 to 1954, we brought 20 million people in this country the right way. Those people worked in shops, went into small businesses and everything. You got 38% of America today has at least one tie back to Ellis Island. So it's not a bad thing if you do it right. What I'm afraid of, and I have visited with a lot of lawmakers about this, is we can't get rid of 10 million people that's working in this country that the only thing they've done wrong is overstayed their work visa or their student visa. They didn't come in the last administration. They've been here 15, 20, 25 years. Those people are paying taxes, paying in Social Security that they're never going to draw. They're subsidizing your Social Security right now. We got to bring in another several million people to do those jobs. You say $1.5 million to 2 million. That won't cut it. Not if you truly get $7 trillion worth of work. But what I'm hoping is that when we build these manufacturing facilities, that some of these people that have a college education is not willing to dig a ditch or frame a house, maybe they'll sit at a conveyor and work some machinery. And hopefully we can get some jobs more suited to the people that's not working today. But the backbreaking work that we have to do, framing houses, pouring concrete, blacktop, and all that, fool yourself if you want to, but we better have Hispanic people working to do that. If everybody left, and I talked to the speaker the other day, I said if we spent $1,000 to essentially bribe people to leave the country and buy them a plane ticket, we'd spend $20 billion there. And what would happen if all 10 million of them left? Who'd cut your grass? Who'd bust your tables? We would have such a horrible situation in this country. So we don't want to be talking out of both sides of our mouth. We need to make sure we balance this work situation with the labor, because if we create 2 million jobs more, 3 million jobs more, people are going to quit cutting grass and go over here. So then get your yard cut, it costs $200 instead of $100. You have to balance this work situation. You have to grow yourself out. I have a son and a grandson that are firemen. When they go out to a fire, it's a 1-alarm fire. If it's too big, it's a 2-alarm. Too big, it's a 3-alarm. You bring in the workforce to handle the problem. We're not doing that in this country. We're ignoring the problem, and the problem is we don't have enough people working.
Well, I appreciate your insight. I think this is a conversation that the American people are going to have, where no one is really willing to have that conversation right now. And I get it, because right now I want illegals out of our country. We had over 20 million, I believe, over 20 million that came in during the Biden administration. We don't know who these people are, what they're doing. But then I begin to look at different numbers that are projecting 5 million jobs or 8 million jobs. We're going to lack 8 million jobs in 5 years. We're going to be down, and we're going to need 8 million people. And so anyway, I just wanted to put that out there so we can begin to think about it. Mr. Joe Penland, thank you so much, sir, for dropping in. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Have a great day.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, listen, guys, I wanted to get back to what we were talking about a few moments ago of how did we get here in the first place? Do you have that cut one available? Let's play that.
And so after World War II, the world was devastated. And we were blessed as a country because the war did not happen on our soil. It happened on Europe's soil, it happened on Asia's soil, and those economies were devastated. And the United States, as a good member of the community, went out and said, we're going to help your countries, and we're going to help you regrow your economies. We're going to help Japan rebuild. We're going to help Germany rebuild. And we gave them a helping hand, and they rebuilt. And they are now, our portion of the economy at that time of the world economy was massive, and it's been shrinking since, as we've been helping all these other countries, build up their place in the world. And we've been allowing them to tariff us. We've been supporting them with foreign aid. We've been subsidizing much of the world to be the good neighbor and help them build up. But at some point that has to end,
Oh,
right?
my goodness. It's kind of making me a little, because I'm thinking, I'm going to let you continue, but as you're saying that, I'm angry to some extent, because I've traveled the nation like you when I was with Vivek Ramaswamy in the presidential campaign, traveling all across the nation. There was so much despair. The roads and the dirtiness in some of our major cities, going to Philadelphia or New York, wonderful historic places, but you can see that there's a decline in the quality of life. Right. And so we've been exporting our wealth across the world.
We have, and if Vivek was here, he would say we need to tell the truth, right? Let's tell the truth. And the truth is, we invited our neighbor into our house. We've been supporting our neighbor as a good neighbor does. But our house has gone into disrepair because we've been helping the neighbor build their homes. And now it's time to stop helping the neighbor because they've got big, beautiful homes. And now it's time to go and repair our own house.
Look at that.
Right? It's real, like if you think of a community, you know, your neighbor's house burns down, you help them build it up. But if they built it up, you know, really nice and it's fresh, now take the money and build your own home and renovate your own home.
It's time for them to go live in their own home
Right.
instead of continuing to come to my refrigerator and go and raid my refrigerator.
And some will say that President Trump is being a little blunt about this, but honestly, the only way that why should they stop taking our subsidies unless we're blunt enough to say, we don't want you to take our subsidies anymore?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're paying for someone, they'll keep taking your money as long as you're like, enough's enough, we're gone.
Okay, so that's how we got here. We're trying to help the world, and we have. This country is so amazing. I love America. I love our country. But we have lifted so many nations out of the muck and mire, out of third world status. And they are doing well now. And now it is time for us to put the spotlight back on the bread and butter of this country, and that's the middle class. We're getting ready to go to break. But listen, if you are driving, the polls are still open. Get there and vote. Vote, vote, vote. Okay, see y'all on the other side.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you, and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Becoming a professional race car driver takes time. Quitting smoking does too. It's not about stopping in one day. It's about starting with day one. Get the resources and support you need to quit smoking at cancer.org/smokeout.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Tonight has been postponed. Tennessee, just one of a handful of states in the line of possibly dangerous weather. CBS News meteorologist David Parkinson says those from the Tennessee Valley up into the Ohio Valley should be on the lookout.
The risk is certainly there to see damaging wind, hail the size of baseballs, and a couple of EF2 or EF3 tornadoes.
While cleanup efforts are underway in places that were hit last week, it's been more than 2 months since tornadoes ripped through parts of Mississippi, and locals say they're still waiting for help from FEMA. CBS's Nicole Skanga.
Since the president took office on January 20th, at least 2,000 individuals have left the nation's disaster relief agency, putting it at a 20% deficit right now. And there were warning signs. I mean, even before that happened, FEMA was operating with too few resources.
President Trump on Capitol Hill today. As our Nicole Killian reports, he's trying to push GOP holdouts to support his massive domestic policy bill.
Potentially, the Speaker and GOP leadership could put this bill on the floor at some point tomorrow, Wednesday, which would be even ahead of the Speaker's projected goal. You know, we'd heard a vote was possible on Thursday. Certainly, the goal has always been to do this by Memorial Day.
U.S. weapons will one day head to space. That's a part of the president's plan for his $175 billion Golden Dome missile defense system.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors.
The dome is set to detect and stop missiles heading to the U.S. To Texas, where health officials say a measles outbreak is slowing thanks to a major vaccine push.
The Texas State Health Department says right now, even though there are now 722 cases in that state alone, fewer than 10 are actively infectious. Health officials say an increase in vaccinations are the reason cases are slowing down, especially among infants. But El Paso is still seeing an increase in cases, and the state says the total reported number of infections are likely an undercount due to people declining to seek medical care. Allison Keyes, CBS News.
Immigration attorneys have told a federal judge the Trump administration may have put migrants from countries like Myanmar and Vietnam on a deportation flight to South Sudan. The Eastern African nation is plagued by conflict and political instability. The administration has been mounting an aggressive diplomatic campaign to convince nations around the world to accept migrants who are not their own citizens. This is CBS News.
A word from Progressive Insurance. Life can be hard, so Progressive can make bundling your home and auto easy. Hope that helps. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Auto Group Studios, experience the power of one with 8 brands and 25 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Kathy Barnette on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
There's a lot of it, guys. There's a lot of money flowing all around. And as we've been talking about, most of that money has been concentrated in the hands of a very few people. And I do not believe that this reconciliation bill is perfect. As I've stated, it is not a silver bullet. It will not solve all of our problems. And yet I earnestly believe it is going to do, it has the potential to do a lot of good for the middle class, of kind of providing a leverage point for the middle class when you talk about many of these key provision. And I could think of no one better to have this conversation with us than Grover Norquist. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am doing well. Delighted to be with you tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Grover is the president of Americans for Tax Reform, a taxpayer advocacy group he founded back in 1985 after President Reagan's request. You can find out more about Americans for Tax Reform by going to atr.org. So, Grover, where are we? Is the bill going to be passed? What's in it? What's out?
The bill will pass. It is in the process of passing first through the House, then the Senate, and the two have to get together and make some amendments and be happy. And then the president will sign it. So this will get done before July 4th, as the president had asked. And the good news is it's a very good bill. As you point out, it's not perfect. Everybody would write it differently. I can think of 100 tax cuts I'd love to add into it. There are efforts to rein in government spending, but they're not enough. We need to do more each year. Here's the good news. There are 3 reconciliation packages. Those are bills to reduce taxes and reduce spending that the Democrats can't filibuster, and therefore we don't need a single Democrat vote to pass them.
Right.
There will be 3 between today and the next election. This is the first one. This is the big one. But if you look at this bill, as I do, and say, I can think of a dozen important tax cuts that weren't in it. I don't like the bill. I say, you know what? There are 2 more buses leaving the station, one this fall and one next spring. So we get the bill passed. It's a good bill. I mean, it's not a bad bill. It's a good bill. There's much good stuff in it.
Well,
There's serious spending
it.
restraint.
Yeah, well, there are some key elements that I think are much needed, and specifically as someone who is living in one of these high state taxes, where that is of no fault of my own. If I was in charge, I would absolutely reduce the taxes of Pennsylvania. I'm sure people in California and New York would do the same. But I think that this salt expansion, do you think is going right now? The cap is at $10,000. Do you think the final bill coming out of the House is going to be increased to $30,000?
Yes, it will be increased to $30,000. That has been agreed to, and that's as high as people can go. It's a lot of money to surrender to blue states.
Yeah, and that is, I think, and for me, the focus is on the middle class. I met you at Job Creators Network a couple of weeks ago, and Job Creators Network. I was talking to Elaine earlier today. Such a thumb on the pulse of our country. Job Creators Network, they represent, and I think you're on the board of that organization, but I
am very proud to.
Yeah, they represent over 35 million small businesses who hire over 90 million Americans, which contribute almost 50%, like 46% to our GDP. That's about half of the nation's GDP. And again, no one really talks about the middle class. We talk about the top 10, we talk about the bottom 50, but not a lot of spotlight goes on to those of us in the middle who are oftentimes carrying the bag for both of them. Either we're creating the productivity that makes the rich richer, or we're subsidizing the lifestyle of those who, for whatever the reason, need us to help them in life. And yet, very few people talk about the middle class. Job Creators Network did that. And I believe this bill goes, there are some things like the 20% pass through, the SALT expansion. I think those things are going to be very helpful to the middle class. What do you say?
Oh, they will be. The doubling of the standard deduction is in here and actually moved even further to be stronger to help taxpayers. 90% of American taxpayers no longer have to itemize their taxes because they don't have enough deductions to need to, because they get a standard deduction. So you don't have to keep all your receipts. 90%. That's a much simpler tax code for people. You saw the per child tax credit, which was $1,000 under the Democrats. It went to $2,000 under Trump 8 years ago. And it's going to go up to $2,500. The expensing for business investment, if a business wants to buy a truck so that people are more productive, if they want to buy better computers for people in the office, they can expense that, meaning they, instead of depreciating it over 5, 10, 20, 40 years, which raises the cost of all new investments and all new plant and equipment, you expense it year one. Why? Because I don't have the money anymore. Spend $1 million upgrading people's computers. You take that $1 million out of your income year one, not year 6, 7, 8, 10.
Right.
Year
And that
one. That's the year it disappeared.
Right. And that reduces your taxable income. Now you're paying less taxes on your
yes.
Yeah.
And
so that's a good thing.
It encourages you to invest more per worker. And the way people make more money, the way people become more productive, you have more capital per worker. That's what when people drive cars instead of horses, that's more capital per worker. The worker is more productive and deserves to be paid more and will be paid more in a free economy. So the bill itself, it also reduces tax rates. If you pay federal taxes, your tax rate will be held low. It will not go up. If this bill doesn't pass, it will pop back up to Obama tax rates, which were not very helpful. And we need to move away from that. So there are a whole series of very good tax reductions to create jobs and give people more opportunity and to leave more money in the hands of workers. And there's a law that was passed under our friend Biden that was originally passed under Obama. It was so awful, Obama allowed it to be repealed while he was president. He signed the repeal of the law he passed. And that is that all of your Venmo, you send money through Venmo, you get money through Venmo, through PayPal, through Marketplace, any of these things. The government under Biden wanted to force you to keep those as receipts. And if 3 of you were paying rent together and you were the guy who wrote the rent check and everybody Venmo'd you the money, you would look at that Venmo and you would be told by the government, we see you have all this income. And now you have to prove it's not income. Well, look, so this is that. It's just ridiculous, amount of money that
so what does this bill do?
This bill takes that, gets rid of that, and says that only applies if you've got like $200,000. If you're running a business, then you have to keep those kind of receipts.
But if you're receiving the rent from the other 2 roommates, then clearly not. Let me pivot and let me ask you, because I think that there's more good than bad in this particular bill. I certainly believe it is going to help the middle class. But the reality that we're living in right now, Donald Trump can walk on water and Democrats would say, you're not doing it right. Do it again, right? And so there's literally nothing. I was talking to Senator Joni Ernst, and she said they are expecting Democrats to not come on board at all. So what would be the attack point from the Democrat? What is their narrative?
It is the narrative they have all the time, every single time. And that, these tax cuts are just for rich people. Well, the per-child tax credit certainly isn't. The doubling of the standard deduction certainly isn't. The lower rates for every American who pays taxes certainly isn't. And one thing to keep in mind, people talk about taxes paid by companies. Companies don't pay taxes. General Motors doesn't pay taxes. They collect taxes from you and me when they sell you a car. They get money, and then they give it to the government. But if the government says to General Motors, we need $1 million, the place they go to get it is higher prices on consumer products, on what they sell, and lower wages. Mostly what companies do, if you go in and tell a grocery store, you've got to pay another $50,000 more than you were expecting in property taxes. Who pays that? Well, people have smaller wages next year, and some people get let go.
Right, exactly.
The whole point of the corporate income tax is so that tax collectors can pretend you didn't pay it. Don't be mad at me. This money is coming from General Motors. Except General Motors doesn't have any money that it doesn't get from selling products.
Right, and they get
And
to
that
put
means
all those
consumers pay
extra-
for it.
Right, exactly. The
Yeah.
consumer pays for it, so that's how that works out. Well, Grover, thank you so much for calling in. Now, let me ask you: do you, Speaker Johnson said that this bill will, it will be passed before Memorial Day, which is next Monday.
Yeah.
Is he going to meet that timeline?
I think so. There was the President Trump came and spoke to all the congressmen. He was a little gruff to some of the congressmen who,
Massey.
Yeah, Massey. He basically wished that Massey would go to some other country and, I don't know, go away. Because his position is, I don't know on everything. And what used to be, Ron Paul used to do that. I loved Ron Paul. And when you had a 20-40 vote margin for the Republicans, you could have the one guy who stood up and said, this bill isn't perfect. Let me tell you what perfect would look like. And that was kind of interesting. And it was good to know that somebody was keeping an eye saying, this is progress, but it's not everything we need. Because that's true, right? It took many years to build the welfare state. We're not going to reduce it slowly and carefully in a week or two, or a year or two,
right,
or the next 10 years, okay? It's going to take time. It took them 100 years to get the present mess going from 1930, okay, almost 100 years now.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing well. We're on track to do much better, but we have so much work to do. Every step forward is a step forward.
And it moves the ball a little bit. It moves the ball a little bit, and I think that that's a really great thing. Let me ask you before you go, and we're about to take a break right now. Congressman Scott Perry is coming on in a few moments. What should I ask him? What would you ask him?
Is he one of the guys who's saying, I'm thinking of voting no?
Okay.
I'm asking. Is he?
No.
If he is,
As of
the
right-
question is, and then what happens, sir? If you vote no and kill a bill that's making progress, it's not replaced by a bill that makes more progress.
Okay.
It's replaced by a bill that makes less progress.
Well,
I don't know that that's Perry's position.
No, I
so
don't think it
be
is.
Careful.
I think he is going to vote yes, but he's going to be on. I will absolutely ask him that question. Thank you so much, Mr. Grover Norquist, for calling in. I appreciate it, sir.
Ask Perry what he wants in the next bill. What's the tax cut that didn't get in that he wants in the next bill? That's a good question.
Thank you. I will make sure to ask him that. You guys, that was Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, ATR.org. Here's the call-in number once more, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. Congressman Scott Perry is coming up in a few moments, so get on that phone. If you have a question for him, here it is. I see y'all on the other side.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hi, this is Larry Steinhaus, and I want to let you know that I buy houses. I buy houses from people that may be a tired landlord, maybe somebody who's having trouble selling their house, or maybe someone who needs to sell their house quickly. Well, all you need to do is call 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137, and I promise to answer the phone and help you with your situation. That's right, your house may be cluttered. It may be a house that a relative left you, or it may just be a house you just want to get rid of. 855-939-1137.
With so much uncertainty in the world today, you may find yourself wondering, is now even the right time to retire?
So many people are waiting, and those folks are going to be waiting a really long time, I hate to say, because there's no perfect time. The market is always unpredictable and volatile.
Fortunately, Jim Cipriotti has been helping get people to, through, and beyond retirement for over 25 years. And each week, he wants to help give you that freedom to retire. Listen to Freedom to Retire with Jim Cipriotti, Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday afternoons at 5 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you, and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
I'm Jalen Hurst here for Window Nation. If you're a fan of saving money, listen up.
Beat the heat with Window Nation's semi-annual sale. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free, and a free entry door when you purchase a full house of windows. Plus, no money down, no interest, and no monthly payments until 2027 and a lifetime warranty. Hurry, sale ends May 31st. Tell them you heard it on 1210 WPHT.
Don't pay more than you have to for new windows. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
Let me hear you say, oh.
Trouble! What? You are listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show. I am sitting here having the time of my life. I love being able to talk about these things. I loved it when I was on the campaign trail of traveling all around the state of Pennsylvania, when I was with Vivek Ramaswamy, traveling all around the nation. We have to have these conversations. This is the conversation to have. There is no other. Yes, we can talk about, and I'm going to talk about Biden. Listen, no, Biden cognitive decline is not a surprise to anyone with half a brain cell and who was watching this man, right? Unless you're morally compromised and suffering from some form of cognitive decline yourself, it was apparent that something was wrong with Biden. I called it. I did a whole show about Lewy body dementia. This is not rocket science, right? And now all of a sudden people want to talk about, but listen, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about McIver behaving, Representative LaMonica McIver acting like a wild boar. A wild hog. You know, I grew up on a pig farm, so I know what a wild hog looks like. And that's what she was looking like as she was trying to beat down ICE agents trying to get into the ICE facility in New Jersey. Yeah, we're going to talk about those things, and we're going to talk about a little bit of all of that. But those things are going to be here tomorrow. It's going to be here next week. It's going to be here 6 months from now. But right now, I believe we have a very small window of opportunity to make sure to hold our legislators' feet to the fire and make sure that they are doing what we need them to do. And what we need them to do right now is not sacrifice the good for the perfect. I mean, like, that really is. I mean, Democrats, y'all know how I feel. They suck. I mean, it's just really, really crazy stuff going on over there on that side of the aisle. But let me tell you something. There are some admirable attributes about that bunch of people, is that they will take what they can get, whatever little lever, whatever little leverage they can get, whatever little crack they find, they will slither their way into that crack. And they will just keep moving and keep moving and keep moving. And before you know it, these people have the whole kit and caboodle. Name anything that we would have thought was unthinkable. Transgenderism, boys taking showers with little girls, boys competing with our daughters, right? We're all looking at that. At one point, it's like unthinkable. Who would do that? No one will allow that. That's crazy talk. But they go inch by inch by inch. They just keep moving the ball until before you know it, their little boy is taking a shower next to your little girl. All of his manly attributes are still intact as he's taking a shower beside your daughter, and your daughter better not say a word. She better stand there and pretend like all of this is normal. And you as a parent, you better shut up, sit down, and listen, right? That's where we are today. But it didn't start that way. No. What Democrats do is they go inch by inch by inch until they get what it is that they want. And we do have some legislators on our side of the aisle within the Republican Party who, do a lot of grandstanding, right? This isn't perfect. Listen, we did not get into this situation of a $2 trillion deficit overnight. We're not going to get out of it in a week. And so what do? Do you just say, I don't know, I want to say the hell with it, but is that a cuss word? I don't even know. I don't want to be. Sean said no. He gives me the thumb up. It's not. Like some of us, but no, we can't. We got to take what we can get. We got to get that ball and we got to run with it as far as we actually can, as far as we possibly can. And what I did not know that Grover just told us is that this is one of 3 reconciliation bills that we're going to have between now and 2028, 4 years from now. And so we're, there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of conversation, but this bill is actually very important. I wanted to play you guys another another interview that I conducted with a group of Latino women. Now, if it was the left here, they'd be like Latinx, which is stupid, because Latinos do not go around calling themselves Latinx. But again, they're trying to control the words, the vocabulary, because if I can control your vocabulary, I can control you, because I can control what you think. And so, but nonetheless, I digress. I was talking to a bunch of Latino women at this small business conference summit that took place in Savannah, Georgia, a couple of weeks. Can you play that cut 2, please?
For me personally, because I am a small business owner and I employ more than 70 people, I see the daily struggles of my employees.
Okay.
I have to fight in a daily basis with the government because they're giving them more checks, food stamps, and everything so they can come and work for me. I literally, at one point, I had to make a line in the Social Security office to tell them, stop giving them free money.
Why is that? Because it's incentivizing them not to work?
Exactly. They're cutting the wings of our people. And what do you think? We have 1 million people coming over every year because the message is come on and I'll give you money. I'll give you free food. I'll give you everything. That is so wrong in so many ways. And I'm so passionate about that.
Wow.
I'm going to fight until the end. If I have to go straight to the White House, tell them, cut everything out. We are here to help the people, the disabled people, the veterans, the older, the people that don't have parents, the kids. But the 20-year-olds, the 25-year-olds that have 3 kids, cut it out. Stop giving
Cut it out. I love talking to them. I mean, they were, just wonderful people, right? Just good people. She has, I think she says 70 employees under her, and her story is an amazing story. I actually did a longer interview with her, and I'm going to have that up on YouTube pretty soon. But, it was just really, but to listen, she started off with next to nothing. I think her family came here when she was 9 years old. She came here with next to nothing, an abusive relationship, but got herself together and was able to build a business. And now, like I said, she has several businesses, over 70 employees. And she said she made a line at the food stamp office, the welfare office, whatever that line is, and told them, stop giving free money, because people don't want to work if you subsidize everything. If I'm going to pay for your rent, pay for your phone bill, pay for your light bill, pay for your food with food stamps, why work? I know some people will, but the overwhelming majority won't. And I loved how she said, you're clipping their wings. We're actually harming people by giving them everything. The poverty I grew in was the foot in my back when I was a young girl that made me rush out and try to do more and do more and do more, because poverty sucks. Standing in front of an empty refrigerator, wondering where my next meal was going to come from, that's a horrible feeling. And I didn't like it. And I certainly didn't want to have my children to endure that. But only in America. Hence the reason why 20 million people were bum rushing our borders. You don't see anyone trying to sneak into China unless they're coming out of North Korea. But in America, you have the whole world wants to be here, and we do not know our own worth as a country. We have forgotten our worth as a nation. And Donald Trump is reminding us in many regards, and this is going to be very difficult, but it is something that must be done. Trade, taxes, deregulation. We have to hold these people accountable for the wrong that they've done. We have to, because if everyone gets to do what they want to do, then why do I have to listen to the rules? If you're not following the Constitution, if you're not following the law, why do I have to follow the law, right? And that's not our nation does not work when the people become ungovernable. And so I have gotten word, I'm in all kinds of conversations that we're going to see a lot of, heavy hammers coming down. I got my popcorn. I am ready for all of it. I am here for all of it. Here's the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I'm going to take a break, but when I come back, Congressman Scott Perry will be on the line, and I am looking forward to that conversation and also just kind of hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much. You're listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show on the #1 talk radio station in Philadelphia, 1210 WPHT. I will see you on the other side.
Hi, it's John Ashdale, the Car Czar from Colonial Hyundai. This May, we're bringing back not one, but 2 of our most popular offers. For a limited time, save up to 20% off any brand new Hyundai in stock. That's a savings of up to $10,000 off. Or I'll give you $6,500 for your trade, guaranteed, no matter the condition, only at Colonial Hyundai. To celebrate the grand reopening of our new showroom, Hyundai has shipped us a special selection of vehicles, and for a limited time, you can save up to 20% off any new Hyundai in stock. At Colonial Hyundai, we want to make your new vehicle even more affordable. So now through May 31st, don't miss out on the best financing in the business with rates as low as 0%. And every new Hyundai comes with 3 years complimentary maintenance and America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, and Hyundai Assurance. Shop us online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the faster, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai.
In stock vehicles only. Tax and tags additional. Offers cannot be combined. See dealer for full details. Offer expires May 31st, 2000.
Here's a few questions for you from California Psychics. Do your workdays seem to go on forever? Is your career progression as fast as downtown traffic? Or does your boss still not know your name?
Hey, you, Tina, Lisa, Sheila, whatever. Get that report to me by lunch, okay? It's Carrie, ma'am. Just get it done, Terry.
It's time to read the career warning signs and talk to California Psychics. We're always on hand to give you the career guidance you need. You see, we only connect you with the very best. In fact, 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us don't make the grade. That's why we can guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. So you could soon be telling your boss where to stick that report.
Where are you going, Terry? Terry!
Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics. Call 1-800-PREDICT today and get 20 minutes for just $20.
Politics, the stock market, the Fed. How do you protect your 401k? Tune in to the Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen. Saturdays at 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Do not miss out on the memorial sale at Rescue Natural Supplements going on now. With prices rising across the country, Rescue is rolling back pricing to the year 2010. Plus, enjoy their fantastic buy 2 bottles, get 1 free, and buy 3 bottles and get 2 free memorial deals. Stock up on your favorites, save big with Rescue rollback pricing, generous free bottle offers. Whether you're in need of 1250 omega-3s, cholesterol supporters, probiotics, or natural pain relief, everything is on sale. To order, call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Speak to a Rescue product consultant or shop online at res-q.com. res-q.com. Don't miss this opportunity for huge savings on over 50 Rescue products to tackle your health goals. Remember, 2010 rollback prices and the memorial deals are going on now through May 29th. So go shop res-q.com. That's res-q.com.
What's better than saving? Save with certainty when you open a First Harvest Credit Union 11-month certificate and earn 3.5% annual percentage yield. Visit firstharvestcu.com/certificates to learn more about this offer and our other savings options, like a First Harvest Growth Savings and Growth Checking accounts. Lock in higher earnings today. First Harvest Credit Union, empowering members to do more for 85 years. Membership restrictions apply. Insured by NCUA.
Hey, Hatboro. Tell your smart speaker deployed. 1210 WPHT. WPHT.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the bricks at? I give him that ditty bop. Like, take that, take that, take that, take that. I'ma put in work.
Yes!
I'ma do that ASAP. Throw my faith in
I could just play this song all day long because you can't stop me. We're on a mission. And right now you are listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show. And you know, I was just looking over here at YouTube. I see Bill Vick all the way from Tennessee is listening in right now. So like I say, guys, this is the #1 talk radio station, and I'm talking to people from Michigan, now Tennessee is listening in, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. Hello to all of you. The call-in number is 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210, and we have my most favorite of all the representatives in D.C. on the line. This is our very own Congressman Scott Perry. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Kathy. How are you?
I am well. You know I'm a fan of yours, right?
Yes, you know I'm a fan of yours.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you not because of anything that you have said, but when these votes come out, you are almost every time I've ever looked, you've been on the right side of those issues, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate the kind of backbone it takes to stand there in DC. But this is Congressman Scott Perry is on the line. He is Pennsylvania's very own U.S. Congressman representing our 10th congressional district. So, sir, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. And of course, we're in the thick of it in Washington, D.C. right now. And look, we've got an opportunity here to save the republic, and we have to maximize the opportunity. And so far, the bill that the House wants to advance just is not quite there. And people say, well, you're one of those people that has to have it perfect. I'd love to have it perfect. The good Lord's the only perfect thing in the universe. But and so we know this bill's not. But it's look, we just can't. A couple things, Kathy. As you know, Moody's just downgraded the United States of America's credit rating. So interest rates are going to go up. The bond sales are going to be tougher. We're going to have a harder time financing our debt. And that means something to people. They can't afford to buy homes. They can't afford to buy things. The cost of living is associated with all of that. But then on top of it, our president, the guy that we all supported, the guy that we all voted for, the guy that we love, and he's trying to save the world and the country, said we got to repeal this Inflation Reduction Act. Now, it didn't have anything to do with reducing inflation.
Absolutely.
If you look at your electricity bills, they've all gone up dramatically, more than the rate of inflation. It's because energy is expensive because government is subsidizing unreliable and inefficient forms of energy. And, of course, they're taking efficient and reliable and affordable forms of energy production out of the mix. And the president said he wanted it eliminated, but yet even though all Republicans voted against that thing when the Democrats brought it to the floor, now you have a bunch of Republicans fighting to keep a whole bunch of it. And I'm just saying, look, I'm not for that. I can't be for that. We live in Pennsylvania. We have to protect our grid. It affects more than just Pennsylvania. Of course, Maryland, New Jersey, a bunch of other states are involved in this thing. And when you need power, we're living in the 21st century. It's not like we can't produce power, but we're not going to have it. We're going to have brownouts like California has very soon. And, how can I tell my constituents I voted for that? And then, Kathy, there's the whole thing about, Medicaid and the fact that we're paying more for Medicaid, more per person on Medicaid than we are for Medicare. And what we're talking about is single able-bodied individuals that are being paid, more in Medicaid than the people it was designed for. Pregnant women that, aren't working and people that can't work. We're leaving them behind, and we're paying for people that can work and choose not to. That's not what the program is designed for. And so we've got to get that right. And, of course, there are Republicans. Once again, this is the Obamacare Medicaid expansion. We all voted against Obamacare, and now you got Republicans defending it.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of quick questions, because I'm gathering you're a no right now on this bill.
Well, I want to see it get improved. I'd like to be yes, but let's do something real.
Okay, then. So you're open between now and when the vote happens. You're open. Now, so let me, because the the green energy subsidies, I can't stand it. It's almost $1 trillion and it's garbage. And we know that it's garbage. How much because, unfortunately, it's not a lot of you and me in the Republican Party in the House right now. You got this other side, the moderates. You got people who are really, not even Republican, but they have an R next to their name, and they like the green energy subsidies. So where are we right now on how much are they willing to take to shave off of that $1 trillion?
Off that $1 trillion, I say they're willing to shave off about maybe $600 billion.
Okay, well that's more than half.
Yeah, I think it actually scores at 1.2 trillion, so that is half. But understand,
so that's
Kathy,
half.
This grifting is going to continue for decades, and what it's going to continue to do is make your energy costs high and imperil our grid. And there, again, I remind you, every single Republican, the moderates and the more than moderates, voted against it just a couple years ago.
Well,
and now,
but they only voted against it because they knew that it wouldn't mean anything, and so that's just political theater. Now, what about now? I was just talking to Grover Norquist a few moments ago, and he said that this
Right.
is one of 3 reconciliation bills that we're going to have before the end of Trump's term. Is that true?
that's probably true. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So is it possible to get what we can get today and move the ball to live to see another day tomorrow and fight and keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting?
Well, I guess you could say it is, Kathy, but as a guy who's been here a little while, it's the same old story, right? What we're doing is all the spending up front and all the savings, 10 years from now, which is what Washington, D.C. always does. And it's why we have these $36, $37 trillion deficits, because the spending always happens and the saving never does. And if we're not going to do it now, just remind you, we were just downgraded again. We don't. There are, I think, 18 states that have a better credit rating than the United States of America, and you got countries actively working to take the reserve currency away from the United States of America. Like, we're in a serious spot here, and if we don't have the appetite to look, we're going to run probably a $500 billion deficit under this program next year. Half a trillion behind. That's more than Joe Biden did. That's not what this. That's not what the people voted
And now,
for.
what about the aspect of the growth? Because we have a lot of reshoring that's coming here. I mean, I wish we could cut our way, right? I am against all of the fat and Medicaid and SNAP and Section 8. I'm against all of that, right? I think people should work if they can work. If we have to take care of a few people, then let's take care of those few people, but certainly not everyone, right? And I think we have gotten into an appetite of people just allowing others to take care of them. But I don't know if we have the backbone in our party to do. Everyone has it. I know you do. Have the appetite to make the cuts. So the other lever is to grow our way out. Are you taking that into consideration of the reshoring and growing?
Of course, we allowed for a greater than normal growth projection. We allowed that in this bill. And even with that, they're blowing that out. So we've conceded that we will grow a lot. But Kathy, the other thing is that, and it's just like I told the president, we're not necessarily looking to keep finding ways to keep giving the deep state more money. We are looking to defund the deep state that gets into our lives and regulates. I mean, they put kill switches on your car so that they can monitor where you go and shut your car off. Is that the federal government that you want to be giving money to? Because I don't.
Okay, I hadn't heard about that one, but absolutely not. I don't want that. But you know what I do want? But what I do want, okay, I'm going to circle back around to that. But what I do want, Congressman, is that I want, especially here in the state of Pennsylvania with all of these taxes we pay, I do want that $30,000 increase in SALT deductions. I do want that as a small business owner, I do want that 20% pass-through deduction, and now it's up to 23%. I think the full expensing will be good. So what will it take for you to come to a yes on this?
So what it'll take for me is we have to have a policy that will not encourage the states that haven't expanded the Obamacare Medicaid portion where the federal government pays 100% essentially of the bill, and the states sign up as many people as they want to, and then disregard the poor and the infirm. So we have to deal with that, what's called the expansion population, and there are states that have not done it yet, and we need something that discourages them from doing that, because that's another probably $1 trillion taken right out of Hyde. So that's something. We've offered a bunch of different things. So far, nothing has suited anybody, but we'll continue to work on that. And then we need essentially, we got to stop all these subsidies to the green energy, the prostitutes on the green energy side, carbon capture, wind and solar, that's distorting the market destroying the grid and making our electricity availability unreliable. We do those two things, and I can move to a yes.
I love it. Real quickly, can you expound on this kill switch?
Yeah, this is another one where Republicans failed to meet the moment. They wanted to put a kill switch in your car starting in 2026 so they can track where you go. It's essentially, they always couch it as for safety. If somebody is evading the law or whatever, then you can just shut the car off instead of, these car chases. And look, nobody wants to see the car chases, but I want to be a free American who's not being tracked by the federal government, because I'll tell you, Kathy, this is going to turn into Kathy Barnette is exceeding her carbon credits, and so we're going to have to shut her mandatory electric vehicle off. We failed to end that.
Is that a part of the
the
green energy subsidies?
No, that was a standalone bill. That was a standalone bill, and it passed the House and passed the Senate, and Joe Biden signed it. And so I have a bill to remove that. But, Republicans voted for that. And so starting next year, all auto manufacturers will be required to put a mandatory kill switch in every new vehicle so that the government can shut your car off anytime they want to.
But because of the Byrd rule, this cannot be a part of the current conversation with the reconciliation rule, right?
It is not. No.
Right.
No, it's not. It was just a point of, do you want to give a federal government that has that authority more money? Because you said, look, we can make up this difference with revenue. We don't have to cut our way out of this. But right now we are, even with the revenue projections, which I agreed to, which I think are still very generous and likely not to happen, we're still going to run a $500 billion deficit next year under President Trump. And I don't think most people said, I'm voting for Trump because I want Biden-level deficits.
No, we absolutely do not. I'm going to let you go, but I so appreciate you, and I know that you are, we don't have a lot of people like you in Washington, D.C. I spent a lot of time in D.C. I just got back from last week, spending a lot of time with our people.
And you had to take a shower with acid, right? You had to wash your skin off with acid.
And so I appreciate fighters. And yet, sir, I am looking at the middle class. We are squeezed. I started this whole show talking about the past 50 years. We didn't get any of this economic boom. And now we have to make sure as we move to the next 50 years that we are in a position that we're positioning ourselves. It's not perfect. It's not a silver bullet, but are we positioning, is the spotlight on the middle class? I think this bill does that more so than any other bill right now in front of you. But I do appreciate you fighting for more, getting rid of more of these green energy subsidies. But I am hopeful that you come.
The middle class is the one that's paying the freight on that, and they're getting nothing for it.
On everything. We're paying for everything.
That's exactly right. There's no constituency out there banging on my door saying, you know what, Perry, you got to vote for more tax credits for carbon sequestration. You know who's making all the money on that?
Yeah.
Billionaires and lobbyists.
Yeah, the top 10%.
I'm for the people that get up early in the morning, pack their lunch, and head off to work. They should be able to keep more of their money and make their choices. If they want to pay for wind and solar, they can make that choice, but it ought to be their choice, not a mandate.
I appreciate that, sir. I am hoping that somehow you fight, and get to a point where you can say yes on this. That makes you comfortable to say yes on this, because I think we need it. But at the same time, like I said, this isn't perfect. I cannot stand these green. I spent almost a year in Iowa. They hate it out there, and they are being crushed by it as well. But I appreciate you. I really want you to get to a yes on this for the reasons that I said, and I'm hoping we can pass it. I think it's going to mean. I think we rented the votes of a lot of Americans in this past election. And I think we have a short amount of time for them to
earn it.
And I think this goes a long way in earning it.
I agree with you, Kathy. I do. So let's see if we can get there, right?
Yes.
But nothing's easy here.
No, it's not. Thank you so much for fighting, sir. I appreciate you.
All right. God bless you, Kathy.
Okay,
Thank
God
you.
bless you. That was our very own Pennsylvania U.S. Congressman, Congressman Scott Perry. I really do appreciate him, guys. I mean, that's a slimy place up there in D.C. And I spent some time with him, talked with him. I read how he votes on things prior to this particular bill. And I mean, he's a man of principles, and we need more of that. I am still hopeful that he gets to that. Yes. Okay, we're getting ready to close out, I think, almost. 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. You guys have me for another hour. I'll see you on the other side.
Hi, Dawn Stensland here. You've heard me talk about replacing my windows and doors with Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding for years now. If you're thinking about redoing your siding, right now is the perfect time. Chapman is currently offering 15% off James Hardie fiber cement siding as well as Certainty vinyl siding. Siding's not just for curb appeal, it also acts as a protective barrier against all the harsh weather of all seasons. Whether you want fiber cement siding or vinyl, Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding has you covered. With more than 30 years of experience, they complete every project with such care, such precision, and they always go the extra mile to work with you on all the different styles and options that best fit your home. Don't put this off. Take advantage. 15% off today. What are you waiting for? Experience the Chapman difference for yourself. They also offer 18-month interest-free financing. 610-431-8898. 610-431-8898. ChapmanWindowsDoors.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
Train service on New Jersey Transit is rolling again after New Jersey Transit and the Engineers Union came to an agreement. Delaware County officials work on a path forward after the loss of the Crozier healthcare system and its Pennsylvania primary day.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1225. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1225. That's 800-777-1225. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Keep free speech alive. Follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Is corporate America, AG Edwards & Sons, Bank of America Capital Asset Management, so working with, the S&P 500 type corporation. And it's very interesting to talk to those particular people and then to come here and to just listen to what small businesses, there really is a disconnect in how these two groups move. And I think this tariff seems to put a big spotlight on the differences. Big companies tend to focus on the market up, the market down, and they panic. Whereas I'm listening and reading, and small businesses have the ability, like, we don't like taxes and prices going up, but we're looking down the road, and this seems good for our business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to look at it, and you're right. For them, it's about looking down the road. It's about being able to plan in the future, and they see the light at the end of the tunnel with the tariffs, but on the flip side, that's what it makes it so important for Congress to get the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act made permanent, because while they are dealing with the turmoil and the higher cost of the tariffs, if we gave them certainty on the tax cuts, it would
even more.
It would just help everything across the board, and we can't wait till December 31st at midnight like Congress likes to do.
Do you think we can wait till July 4th?
I don't want to. I'd love to see it by the end of May, but if July 4th is when it happens, it's better than September.
Yeah, that was Elaine Parker. She is one of the leaders, one of the executive leaders of Job Creators Network. This was the conference that I participated in a couple of weeks ago in Savannah, Georgia, where we had small businesses from all across America, Job Creators Network. They represent over 35 million small businesses that hire over 90 million Americans. And this creates about 46% of our GDP. So almost 50% of our GDP is created by small businesses. And there's very little spotlight placed on them. We generally talk about Wall Street, S&P 500 companies, all of the stocks, NVIDIA, Apple, and all of these other places, Microsoft. We talk about them, but we don't talk about the small business. I think this bill goes a long way in doing that. And not only for small businesses today, one of the key provisions within the bill that the House, Congressman Scott Perry and others are contending with right now is no tax on tips. That is not something that is specifically going to impact positively the middle class. That's more of a gig economy. That's more of the bottom 50%. But it goes a long way in keeping a promise that Trump made on the campaign trail. Promise made, promise kept. And it's important, I think, to get this bill passed by July 4th, so that it has time to work its way through the economy, so that by the time we get to July of next year, right before the midterm elections, the people will have this bill will have had time to absorb itself throughout the economy to make sure that people can feel it by this time next year. Because if the voters don't feel the benefit, then when they walk into the voting booth by midterms of next year, it's going to be a problem. I said it very quickly when the congressman was on the line. We rented the votes of a lot of people last year. We don't own their votes. It's on rent. And if we don't show up and show out and give them something to feel and talk about this time next year, we're going to be in a world of hurt. You're listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show here on the number one talk radio station, 1210 WPHT. Hang in here with me. I'm coming up to my last hour. The call-in number is 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I will see y'all on the other side.
If there was ever a time to live united, it is now. Now is the time to speak with one voice, to build up, not tear down. It's time to join hands and live united against the problems that keep our communities from thriving. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you? Volunteer or donate now at unitedway.org.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Auto Group Studios, experience the power of one with 8 brands and 25 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Outcomes like fewer infections or hospitalizations before the FDA will grant full approval of a COVID-19 shot. In the meantime, the FDA is saying that it will limit access to those vaccines going forward to people 65 years old or older, or those who are at high risk of becoming seriously ill if they're infected. The government estimates that about 100 to 200 million Americans have conditions that would put them in that high-risk category.
A maintenance worker says he helped inmates break out of a New Orleans jail last week after he was threatened by one of them. This as 6 of the 10 of them are still on the run.
Cops have booked one New Orleans jail employee with helping 10 inmates escape.
There was a maintenance worker who got arrested.
Former Sheriff Marlon Gussman, who oversaw the construction of the current jail, is not surprised that the inmates allegedly had inside help.
I saw those cells being made.
He says industrial tools would have been needed to remove a toilet from a wall and cut through crisscrossing metal rebar bars in the wall where the inmates broke into a maintenance corridor.
Really mind-blowing.
Dave Cohen for CBS News, New Orleans.
There are tornado warnings tonight in effect for parts of Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. Kentucky is still reeling from bad weather just days ago that killed 19 people in that state alone. Governor Andy Beshear.
We need everybody to be weather aware. We need everybody to have a place to go tonight, preferably that has a basement.
Flights at Newark International are being capped as of today from about 40 arrivals per hour to fewer than 30. As our Chris Van Cleve reports, that will go on until construction is over in about a month.
That will stay in effect until June 15th, when runway construction is supposed to end. Assuming the runway construction ends Monday through Friday, you will see the arrival and departure rates jump up to about 34 arrivals and departures per hour.
A new analysis by The Lancet finds that the health and well-being of adolescents worldwide face rising threats. Professor Peter Azzopardi on the trouble spots.
We've seen some areas, so particularly obesity, overweight and obesity increasing for adolescents across the globe. We've seen little to no progress made in mental health as well.
George Wendt, the comedian and actor known for his beloved role as Norm on Cheers, has died.
No, my nipples. It's freezing out there.
His family says he died peacefully in his sleep at home this morning. He was 76. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. Protect your auto, home, and business with Progressive and get 24/7 coverage. See if you can save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Kathy Barnette on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the brakes at? I give him that diddy bop. Like, take that, take that, take that, take that.
Hey! We're putting in the work here on the #1 talk radio station in Philadelphia, 1210 WPHT. It is covering not just Pennsylvania, but New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. I see Bill from Tennessee is over here on YouTube. I got a call from someone in Michigan. So we're talking to a lot of people out here. And I want to bring in my good friend, Brandon Straka. But before I do, let me give you guys a call-in number, 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210. Call in. Let me chime in on these conversations. Brandon, how are you, my friend?
Well, how are you, Kathy?
I am doing well. Brandon, I just adore you. I do.
I adore you too. Thank you.
I smile every time I see you or hear you. I mean, you are a truth fighter. I mean, like a slinger of truth, like a fighter out there. And we need people like that. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all of your efforts. For those who do not know, Brandon, he is a strategist and founder of Walkaway. And because of your efforts, Brandon, so many people have seen the light and walked away from the Democrat Party and thinking for themselves and making better decisions, especially when it comes to who they vote for. So thank you so much for being on.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. It's true. I try to go out there and tell the truth and encourage people to do their own homework and do their own research and try to find the truth behind the false narratives. And some people appreciate it and a lot of people don't.
Yeah, you know what? You are a trailblazer. You were out there. I probably saw you for the first time probably around 2020, but I know you were out there even before then. But that's when you popped up on my radar, and it wasn't an easy thing. Maybe 2016. I can't remember, but you were doing something that hadn't been done. No one was really doing, going out and talking to the other side and compelling them to walk away from the Democrat Party. Generally Republicans, at that time we were just staying in our own little huddles. And it was something new and something very different. You going out and actually having conversations with people on the other side, and creating videos around that content of people sharing their stories of walking off what I call the Democrat plantation.
That's right. So it was actually 2018, and Walkaway is about to turn 7 years old here in just a couple of days. So it was May 26th of 2018 that I launched a 6-minute video where I talked about all the reasons why I was walking away from liberalism in the Democratic Party. And I launched a Facebook group that I called the #Walkaway campaign. And basically what I told people was, if anyone else out there is feeling the way that I'm feeling, like you can no longer be a part of this divisive, hateful, anti-information, anti-American, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-all these things movement, share your own stories, submit a video or a written testimonial and speak up. And, it took a little time before people stopped being shy, but within a few weeks, we started getting videos in by the singles, and then by the dozens, and then by the hundreds, and eventually by the thousands.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened.
Yes.
And then 2020 happened, and all of a sudden, things switched for a lot of us. A lot of things flipped on its head. Our country felt like it was no longer our country. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit, because I am watching, I'm sure you've been watching what is developing with Representative LaMonka McIver. She's been charged for kind of trying to bulldoze her way into a federal building in New Jersey. Have you been paying attention to that?
Oh, yeah, I pay attention to a lot of the stupid things that the Democrats do.
Yeah, and then I'm watching, now all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, Biden is cognitively compromised. Now everyone is talking about it, right? I think most people who are not morally compromised knew for a very long time back in 2020 that Biden is cognitively compromised. But now that is the conversation, as well as, with his physical illness and deterioration, that this has been going on for some time, who was actually running the government. You have all of those conversations. And then I was thinking about James Comey just recently, the former FBI director, just put out an assassination hit on the president by putting out 86 number 47, which, of course, even I know what 86 mean, and I'm generally the last person to know what those things mean. And I'm thinking about all of this, and you popped into my mind because you paid a heavy price for essentially doing absolutely nothing. And yet you have all of these people on the left just out here living their best life, becoming more and more ungovernable and encouraging others to become ungovernable, bullying, intimidating. You were just standing outside of the building on January 6th. Tell us a little bit about the literal hell you have gone through, and just a juxtaposed position between how you've been treated as a peaceful protester, according to the First Amendment, versus what we're experiencing with all the chaos and illegal behavior of the left.
Yeah, well, it's, on January 6th, I was supposed to be a scheduled speaker at a permitted event, and then, of course, on Capitol grounds. And when I started hearing that people were going inside the building, so I approached the building and I stood outside for 8 minutes and I shot a video. When I got up to the Capitol building, the doors were open, and some people were trying to push their way in, and other people were just kind of standing there filming. And there were no officers. I wasn't even on the same side of the building as where people had been. I was on the east side. The riot had happened on the west side. I didn't even know there had been a riot. So I stood outside and I shot a video for 8 minutes, and then I uploaded that video to Twitter. And because of who I am and what I do, they had the FBI come and raid my home and took me to jail. They charged me with 2 felonies and threatened to add a 3rd felony charge, and they added a misdemeanor charge unless I pled guilty to a misdemeanor, and then they said they would drop the felonies. It was an impossible situation from the very beginning, but it's impossible to even say the hell, use that word hell that this put me through. And it's not even over, Kathy. I mean, yes, I got pardoned by the president, but I ultimately had to go to jail. I had to spend time on house arrest. I had to spend 4 years under federal
And
supervision.
you didn't even go in the building.
Never entered the building. Nope.
You never entered the building. Did you push somebody, Brandon?
Nope.
Did you
Nope.
knock somebody upside the head? Like, what did you, are you telling me all you did was just stand
Yeah,
on
that's what I'm
public
telling
grounds?
you. Yeah, and I know it sounds ridiculous. So, I would highly encourage anybody listening right now, go to my X account and look at my pinned post, which is a short documentary I made about, it literally shows my footage and exactly what I was accused of doing and exactly what I did do. Look for yourself and you tell me. But yeah, no, I was never even accused of violence by the government. I was never accused of vandalism or theft or destruction. I literally stood outside the building for 8 minutes shooting a video and uploaded to the worst crime accusation they had against me was that I had entered restricted grounds, the Capitol grounds, which I argue I did not enter restricted grounds because there was no way to know the grounds were restricted. I mean, there were no barricades, there were no police officers, there were no signs. But nonetheless, I got permanently banned by PayPal, Venmo, Stripe, Patreon, every email service you can imagine, social media, banks, everything you can think of. And so
They
a
were
lot of
trying
that
to
is,
destroy you.
Yeah. And a lot of that is, we're still trying to work our way through getting unbanned by some of these things or getting some of these things. And some of them never will. I mean, some of them I literally will just be banned for life. But,
And
the repercussions.
I thought about you because I'm looking at these people on the left have lost their plumb mind. The way that they're behaving, they're traveling and having margaritas with convicted terrorists and MS-13. They are trying to break into ICE facilities, just acting like wild beasts of burden. Now we're finding out, which most of us already kind of knew, that, Biden was not running the government. There's a whole rogue of individuals, a deep state, that was actually running and ruining our country, just doing things that the person, Biden, previously, when he was probably cognitively in a stable state, was not an advocate of, and now all of a sudden, somebody else is running the nation. And I'm looking at all of this chaos, and I'm like, when are we going to see people being held accountable? Why can't our side exact a little bit of that same energy that we saw in 2020 from the Biden administration?
I wish I knew the answer to that question, and I wish I knew what it is that happens to people when they get power or put into office, that suddenly they become completely useless because, there are so many people that we feel excited about because they've got all that fire and all of that passion, and they're messaging that, as soon as they get elected, they're going to go in there, they're going to clean up. It's going to be, people are going to lose their jobs, heads are going to roll, and then nothing happens. Nothing happens. And I'm dismayed by what the energy I feel like is coming right now, the DOJ and the FBI. And, I'm not really feeling confident.
Or the lack of energy. Coming from the DOJ and the FBI. And,
Right.
and I mean, like, they keep telling us, just wait, just hold on. Something's coming. I don't want them to make up stuff. I just want them to actually, we know, just like we knew about Biden being cognitively impaired and that there was someone else other than Biden running our country, right? These aren't conspiracy theories. These are just observations. And we're just watching and we're observing and we're coming to conclusions based on that observation. I think the same thing can be applied with the things that we've seen the previous DOJ was doing, weaponizing itself, weaponizing the government against citizens such as yourself. So let me pivot a little bit. Do we have time to play the Trish Regan clip? That was cut 4. I would like to get your opinion on this, Brandon. Okay, here we go.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
Hold on.
I actually had this conversation with a Democrat the other day who really expressed such conviction that this is the direction that we need to go in, America needs to become a socialist system. And it hit me like they're actually serious. We were sort of, talking about what the Dems' plan would be for 28, and I'm like, well, if they're smart, they'll probably put in somebody like Gavin Newsom, who, I know has been a disaster in California, but maybe looks the part and can kind of move to the center a little bit. And you see him moving to the center. You saw Gretchen Whitmer out there, on stage with Donald Trump. She's trying to move to the center. Why? Because they realize that there's much more opportunity in the center, which is what Donald Trump has been able to do. In terms of economic policy, et cetera. And what I'm hearing from a lot of Democrats is no, actually, there's no interest in the center. There's interest in this radical movement. And we have to recognize that and be the antithesis to that.
Believe
radical.
them. Believe them when they tell us who they are. I mean, essentially, Brandon, Democrats have nothing to offer us, and they're not interested in having a conversation. Even with this reconciliation bill, all the good that is in there, they're not interested in having the conversation. Do you agree with that? Do you think Democrats have nothing to offer the American people except chaos?
Well, I do, but when I listen to that clip, too, one of the things that I hear so loudly and clearly is that there's very few lessons that were learned by their 2024 election loss, or the fact that they have like a 22% approval rating right now. There's almost like a cult-like, religious devotion to this ideology that allows them to just put this filter up where it's like they don't even recognize how unpopular this is with so many people. They don't even recognize that people are walking away from the Democratic Party. And so if there's an unwillingness to correct course based off of the fact that people are leaving in droves because they hate what you're doing and what you're standing for, and you're going to put more.
They're
more
doubling
of the same
down.
forward.
They're doubling down
You're
on
doubling
it.
down, right? Exactly. I mean, it's I fully anticipate we're probably going to have who's that one from Texas? The one who's a real
Ratchet
Nimrod?
Crockett, Jasmine Crockett.
Yes, Crockett.
She's ratchet.
I fully anticipate we're going to have like a Crockett Ocasio-Cortez ticket happening maybe in 28.
You know what? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Right now, the most popular person in the Democrat Party is a 90-year-old man, Bernie Sanders. And I mean, like, this is what they have to offer. And talking about, Crockett for a moment, I mean, it's such a performance. When you watch videos of her speaking and her demeanor and how she dresses prior to this Trump's election, she looks, acts, sounds like a normal individual. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump win. Now, Schumer or somebody put their foot in her back and say, go out there and distract the people. Now she has on eyelashes you can see from across the football field, and talking in a way that is hood and ghetto, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Honey child, but she's an elected official on a national stage. And this is all a performance. It's not real. And yet this is what they're doing. So I have to say, when I look at her prior to last year, prior to her getting into the spotlight, she sounds normal. She's educated. She comes from a good family. She's a lawyer. She owned her own business, a successful business before she ran for office. And now I'm looking at her. It's so perfunctory. It's a clown show. I have to say, these people know what they're doing. They just don't care.
Yes. And I feel like you just nailed it too, because I believe that they intentionally put minorities into these roles and then have these people behave in ways that are so off-putting and stereotypical, as a way to just create conflict, I think, and division. And it doesn't matter if you're black or gay or Hispanic or whatever. They put, remember when Biden was in there and he was putting all the people in that were like trans, and then they were all going to the airport and stealing everybody's luggage?
Yes, just crazy, doing crazy stuff. Bald head, light skin, red lipstick. Like, what is this?
Yes.
This is not normal.
Yeah. No, and then in the Republican Party, it's like we have minorities in our party too, but they're just sort of like normal people who happen to be minorities, but we're the ones who get called, the Uncle Toms and the self-hating gay people and stuff like that. Like, really, I'm self-hating? Like, look, I'm not the one going to the airport and stealing everybody's crap.
Okay.
Give me a break.
It's so crazy. Whenever someone calls me an Uncle Tom, I know immediately they have not read the book. Uncle Tom is actually a hero.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like, oh my gosh, you're so ignorant. Brandon, thank you so much, sir, for joining in on this conversation. I appreciate you. I appreciate your fight. I saw you. I told you this when I was with Vivek. I don't know where we were. We were somewhere in the country. I think New Jersey. And I still remember you. Vivek was on stage. I was standing in the back. You had a black suit on. And this is when you were going through hell and just being dragged all across the nation and had been debanked and everything. And I saw you standing up and you were asking a question. Vivek, I adore Vivek, but he gave, kind of a quick answer so he can move on. And you were like, no. But you were so polite. You were very professional. And you really made the case that if you should gain ground, Vivek, I want you to put a spotlight on the harm that has been inflicted on law-abiding Americans. You were asking him to get serious about the weaponization of our laws against law-abiding Americans. And I was standing back there and I just saw you. You were professional, you were kind, but I was like, that is what we need. You are a fighter. And I just, my appreciation for you grew even more at that moment.
Well, Kathy, thank you. And before we wrap up, I just want to tell everyone, speaking of fighting, I'm going to be fighting really hard this year for New Jersey, Virginia, and a number of other states, both of which have big elections, governor's races. So if anyone wants to come out and support and be there, I'm going to be in Virginia next week. Please go to walkawaycampaign.com, click on events, sign up and come and meet me in Virginia for my meet and greet a week from this Saturday. I'll be in Washington State at the end of this week too. But sign up for my email list and come and see me in Virginia next week. And I'll be in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia a lot this year. So sign up for the email list.
What is that? What is that website again?
walkawaycampaign.com. Sign up for the email list so you know where I'm coming to. And if you're in Virginia or anywhere in the area, come out and see me a week from this Saturday, as I'm going to be in Ashburn, Virginia, a week from this Saturday.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us, Brandon.
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, guys, we are close. We're rounding out. We're moving. Sean, we are moving. Here's the number, guys, if you want to chime in. 855-839-1210. 855-839-1210. Okay, that's it for my interviews, I think. No, I have a couple of more interviews that are coming up, interviews that I recorded. But if you guys want to chime in, now would be the time. 855-839-1210.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Hi, this is Larry Steinhaus, and I want to tell you about a full-day event we're having on Saturday, June 14th. Not only will you learn stock options and real estate, but you'll also learn asset protection, you'll learn how life insurance really works, and so much more. To sign up for this event, go to 4mmw.com. That's the number 4mmw.com. And I'll tell you what, if you put in the coupon code WPHT, you're going to get a free ticket. That's it, 4mmw.com, coupon code WPHT.
My dad Len always says, the minute you get in a rideshare, buckle up.
And my son Jordan always says,
The minute you get in a rideshare accident, first seek medical attention and then call us. This is Len Lundy.
And I'm Jordan Lundy of Lundy Law. My dad and I hope we'll never meet you because of an accident, but if we do, we're here for you.
Remember our name, Lundy Law. Your injury lawyers.
Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW or visit lundylaw.com.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Yes, we are back. You are listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show on the number one talk radio station here in Philadelphia. The call-in number is 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I want to turn to Cut 5. This is my interview. Cut 5 and 6, Sean. This is my interview with Senator Joni Ernst, talking about, because the bill right now is with the House. This bill will pass, and I believe strongly that Congressman Scott Perry will get to a place where he is comfortable, and he will vote accordingly to get this bill out of the House, and it will move on, if everything stays on schedule, by Memorial Day to the Senate. And this is, we're going to play two clips here from Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa. Talk to us about that, because a lot of those offsets are going to be used to offset the bigger expense from the reconciliation budget, right?
Yes.
Talk us through a little bit of what you're looking at. How much do you think you can get from those particular DOGE cuts? Stuff like that.
Absolutely. So right now, as chair of the Senate DOGE caucus, and I chair the Small Business Committee, all of our chairs are working together to go through their budgets line by line and see what within the federal government would be considered waste. Where can we eliminate programs that aren't working for the American people? How can we reinforce those that are? And with those savings, they will be able to balance out reconciliation. There are some other programs, of course, that are part of our discretionary spending, and we'll be doing what we call rescissions packages with the administration. That does have to start with President Trump. So what we're doing through our DOGE caucus, through our initiatives, working with DOGE at the federal level, working with the Office of Budget and Management, and finding those cost savings. And we'll put that together. We'll vote on that in the Senate and in the House. And overall, we're going to do a number of rescissions packages. I think the first one that's coming out from the administration is about $9 billion. So a very small one. But again, we're going to do iterations of rescissions packages that will help us with reconciliation.
Yeah. So Donald Trump has promised not to touch Social Security, but the reality is we only have so many big budgets we can take things from, right? So whether it's Medicare and Medicaid, whether it's Social Security, whether it's defense, we know we're not touching defense. He said we're not touching Social Security. What are we doing with Medicare and Medicaid? Plus, do you think we're going to get Republicans to vote to repeal some of those green energy subsidies? To find that money.
And I'll start with the last question, which is Democratic support. No, there will not be Democratic support. So, which is why the reconciliation is so important, because that's where we will get Republicans to support. We'll get Republicans to support, and we'll be able to pass it through the House and the Senate. But when you talk about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those are things that we are very sensitive. We are very sensitive on those topics. I think about my own mother and father that are on Social Security. We think about those that are most vulnerable in our population. So through DOGE, what we have discovered with Elon Musk going into Social Security is that if there are payments that are fraudulent that we shouldn't be doing, obviously we need to make sure that those aren't being made. So half of the battle is just straightening out the systems to make sure that those that are supposed to be receiving Social Security payments are getting them. Those that should not be getting them should not be getting them.
Right.
So really streamlining the system, making sure that it is accurate is
So we're not
part
touching
of
it. So you're not
So
thinking about touching
President Trump has said we will not touch Social Security. Medicaid is a different issue, and what we have seen, and I've witnessed this and have been working on this issue, is that the states actually have been making overpayments when it comes to Medicaid. So we need to correct that, and that's a state's deficiency. So we need to work with the states to make sure that we don't see payments that are, so there's a provider tax. So they are using that in a way that they should not be using it to support illegal migrants in the country. It's not what those payments from the federal government are supposed to do. So we do need to focus on issues like that. And I think that's where we can make a bit of a difference within Medicare and Medicaid, but Medicaid in particular.
Yeah. Again, this is a lot, and most Americans don't have the attention span or the interest to follow along what is happening in DC, and there are a number of Americans I will never understand who are like, I'm not voting. It doesn't matter what I do. These people are going to do what they want to do. So you've already conceded, and we've already lost, right? You've already lost the plot. You've seriously lost the plot there, because this bill is going to pass. I feel very confident that this bill is going to pass, that they're going to have a vote in the House by this weekend. These people usually try to get out they only work 3 days a week. I don't know if you guys know that. I have a 5-day work week. Friday, they're traveling back home. Monday, they're traveling from home back to DC. So they really only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So by Thursday, I'm going to put that out there right now, we will probably have a vote on this particular bill. And then the question becomes, well, what's in it? And there's been a lot of organizations like JCN and others that have had a lot of conversations with legislators, trying to get them to the point of putting things in it. I mean, the whole business around Washington, D.C. is all about lobbying and people jockeying for their pet project. Unfortunately, I have yet to find some lobbying group who specifically goes in and just talks about what's good for the middle class. You don't have a lot of people. You have a lot of people advocating for welfare, Medicaid. You have a lot of people advocating for the top 10%, more contracts, more this, more loopholes, all of that kind of thing. But very few people, if any at all, really advocate for the middle class. And so, but we're the ones holding the bag. For both groups of people. We're in the middle, and we're holding the bag for those at the top and those at the bottom. And again, this bill is not perfect whatsoever. Again, if you heard my conversation with Congressman Scott Perry, I mean, these green energy subsidies, it's almost $1 trillion right there. And those things did not make our lives any easier. Certainly did not make our energy bills go down at all. It has not made our lives more convenient whatsoever. It has not shored up our very weak and fragile electricity grid. And so we have some very real issues, but who has the appetite? According to Congressman Scott Perry, right now they're at a $600 billion cut. So he said it's scored at $1.2 trillion, the green new subsidies. I read almost $1 trillion. So if we're getting out $600 billion, that's more than half of the green energy subsidies, which is more than I thought the Republicans were going to have the appetite to reduce it by. So that's a good thing. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break real quick. When I come back, I'm going to play a couple of more videos. Here's the call-in number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I'll see y'all.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you, and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
Train service on New Jersey Transit is rolling again after New Jersey Transit and the Engineers Union came to an agreement. Delaware County officials work on a path forward after the loss of the Crozier healthcare system and its Pennsylvania primary day.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-280-2424. 800-280-2424. That's 800-280-2424.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning, life, and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Let King Shooter Supply in King of Prussia help protect you and your family. King Shooter Supply has over 200 years of combined firearms experience to help you get what you need to protect what you love. They gladly welcome beginners into their family of competitive shooters, recreational shooters, law enforcement professionals, and hunters. They'll guide you through the nuances of finding the right firearm, ammunition, and accessories that you need for self-defense. Visit them at 346 East Church Road in King of Prussia. Visit them on Facebook or at kingshooters.com.
Free speech lives here on Odyssey's #1 talk station. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
The Job Creators Network, and we are here with an organization that represents over 30 million small businesses who employ over 90 million Americans that make up almost 50% of the GDP, and yet no one really talks about the small business. We talk about NVIDIA and Microsoft and some of the other 500 S&P 500 corporations, but no one really talks about the small business owner. And I was just sitting here talking to one a few moments ago who started off with very little and then create something very amazing that employs so many. And so that is what your organization puts a big, beautiful spotlight on.
Main Street. It's Main Street that matters in this country. I mean, you said it yourself, over 30 million small business owners. They employ half the country. They create 2/3 of all new net jobs. And they are the backbone of this country. They support our little leagues in our communities.
Yeah.
They are our friends, our neighbors. I mean, they are part of our communities. And what we don't get to hear from them because they're not on CNBC or the talk shows,
right,
is we don't get to hear those stories.
Yeah.
The story of the entrepreneur who had to mortgage their house 7 times to pay their taxes and keep the business afloat and put their family home in jeopardy.
Yes.
And in the long run, it worked out for them. Doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
But in the long run, they took those risks and they're reaping the benefits of it, but so are their employees and so are their communities and so are their neighbors. And the economy is benefiting as a result of those risks that entrepreneur is willing to take.
Yeah, let me tell you why it matters. What what the House is doing right now, because I mean, I know what I had to do and what I had to sacrifice and how I had to discipline myself in order to claw my way out of dire poverty. And what I am watching is that ladder that I was able to use to climb out of dire poverty, that ladder is being rescinded, is being drawn up. And it's going to become increasingly more and more difficult for people in the bottom 50% to get out of dire poverty, because opportunities are closing, because money is not flowing across the grid. It is highly concentrated up in the top 10%. As I said at the opening, the top 10% in this nation own 70% of the wealth of this nation. Over the past 50 years, $23 trillion has flowed into the hands of the top 10%. Let me tell y'all this. In 2020, remember 2020, go back with me. In 2020, during COVID, we were shutting down schools, we were shuttering businesses, we were destroying people's livelihoods. People were being evicted, people were losing their jobs. But do you know what? 3 million Americans crossed the threshold into becoming millionaires, while the rest of us in the middle class and the bottom 50%, they were taken care of because we were subsidizing. Remember all those checks that were going out to them? I didn't get a check. Did you get a check? I didn't get a check. So the bottom 50%, they were being subsidized to stay home. The top 10% during that time in 2020, during COVID, when everything was shuttered and people were losing everything around us, over 3 million new millionaires were created in this country. So money is flowing. It's just not flowing to us. We are being crowded out in the middle. There's a squeeze. We have to start talking about it. We have to force the conversation. Otherwise, why would anyone talk about it? The top 10%, they keep getting rich. The bottom 50%, they're there and people taking care of everything and paying everything. Life is cool, right? But I remember being in the bottom 50%. I remember the struggle. I remember how hard I worked. But the great thing about it is that I could work. I could discipline myself, and I could carve out a life for myself. But we are clipping the wings and we are pulling up the ladder that those in the bottom 50% will use to climb out of. Just like we're removing the ladder that many in the middle class would use to climb up into the top 10%. That ladder also is being removed. And if we don't have a conversation about it, if we keep kicking the can down the road, if we keep pretending like all is well and I'm going to retire here on this day and that day, let me just show. I had it right here. Oh yeah, that in 1971, a home price was $25,000. It is now $400,000, the median price of a home. How many of your 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds can afford to buy a house and everything that goes along with that house? The American dream is on crutches. It is on life support right now. And if we don't start having some real conversations, we're going to be in a world of hurt. I'll see y'all on the other side.
Saw a t-shirt recently that said too much of anything is bad, unless we're talking about bacon. Now, we can debate that all day long, right? But the point is, portion control is a good thing. That can also be said about your retirement accounts. Too much risk, and you could get burned by a down market. Too conservative, and maybe you can't take that Alaskan cruise. Alan Cohen at Spectrum Wealth Partners understands portion control. He can build a retirement plan with a level of protection and risk designed specifically for you. And if you don't want any risk at all, he can do that too. Call Alan Cohen today for a free meeting to discuss it. 856-322-8686. That's 856-322-8686. Or online at spectrumwp.com.
Advisory services offered through Concurrent Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Concurrent Investment Advisors, LLC, and Spectrum Wealth Partners are not affiliated companies.
With so much uncertainty in the world today, you may find yourself wondering, is now even the right time to retire?
And so many people are waiting, and those folks are going to be waiting a really long time, I hate to say, because there's no perfect time. The market is always unpredictable and volatile.
Fortunately, Jim Cipriotti has been helping get people to, through, and beyond retirement for over 25 years. And each week, he wants to help give you that freedom to retire. Listen to Freedom to Retire with Jim Cipriotti, Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday afternoons at 5 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
We gathered real Pennsylvania seniors and asked them how they would benefit from an extra $1,000. Here's what they had to say.
Everything is so expensive these days.
Car expenses, repairs.
My groceries, heating costs.
Medications. Sure, I could easily spend $1,000 like that.
Through Pennsylvania's property tax rent rebate program, eligible seniors and adults with disabilities could receive up to $1,000. Check your eligibility and apply online.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Just like our offensive line protects our star quarterback, plumbers protect the health of the nation. And Philadelphia Plumbers Union Local 690 is no different. In hospitals, commercial, industrial, and residential, with the best trained plumbers in the world, you can be sure your project is done on time and on budget, no matter how big or small. So when your business needs to build new or expand existing facilities, you can count on the members of Plumbers Union Local 690. Visit plumbers690.org.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
Also, I believe clarity in message is an important thing. I think Trump is a very good messenger. And I think this administration has made an amazing messaging team. But when you're negotiating, as we do in business, right? When you're negotiating, you're probably going in a little harder than you have to for that reaction, and then to recalibrate, somewhere in the middle where you're both kind of happy, I guess, right? When you have the best products in the world and America is the best country to do business in the world, you should be a little strong in how you negotiate, right? We've not had that.
We don't have to beg. Well, we don't, right? Like, remember Obama in office, and he's like bowing and going on an apology tour. We're so sorry that America is the better country.
And the media would say, "What a great negotiator! Look at how fast he got that done!" Right? Well,
But how much did we capitulate?
No. Guess what? You look like a pretty good negotiator because you're getting things done fast. But that's a terrible negotiator. A great negotiator knows where they have leverage. A great negotiator knows the strength of the product, okay? Obama didn't think we had any strength. He thought we were a terrible country. Let's just give everything away. And he just said it every day. And so he got things done in the most terrible way because he was giving away our country's economics, right?
I love that clip with Gary Rabine. This man, he is now since he's the chairman of the Rabine Group. They do a lot of, he calls it, he's making digging ditches sexy again. So that's what he says, not me. But nonetheless, I remember, meeting him like 10 years ago, and he talked about, he's been in business for well over 45 years now. But he talks about how he and his brothers just started paving driveways, and he just had a bucket and a mop, and now this man is in all kinds of businesses and doing so many great things. Still a small business organization, not a publicly traded organization, but it's just amazing to sit and listen to their stories and what this country is able to do for people who have an idea and is willing to work hard. And we want to preserve that America for the next generation, for my children, for your children, our grandchildren. And in order to do that, we have to stay informed. That's what the point of this whole conversation is. Let's talk about substantive things that are going on. Yes, all this other fluff is going to be going on, right? We're going to be talking about Biden 6 months from now. We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris and all of those donations or all of those payments she made to celebrities to get their endorsements. We're going to be talking about all of these salacious things for some time. Diddy. Oh my gosh, right? We're going to be talking about that for some time. But this is a window, an open window of opportunity, and we need our people to become better equipped on what's actually going on. Yeah, this has been 3 hours go by so quickly. I thought 2 hours went by quickly. These 3 hours have gone by very quickly. But it
I
has
agree.
been a lot of fun. I love it. The reason why I ran for office are still my reasons. I love our country, but I believe we are in trouble, and I believe we need better leadership. And the leadership that we do have, I believe we need to come alongside them, put their feet to the fire. Let's have some conversations. And thirdly, I believe we need a better informed um, electorate, voters. We need to be informed about what's going on, or, at least a modicum of understanding of what's going on around us. Otherwise, because if you know some things about it, it makes you less likely to be manipulated. And so that's my whole point of being here and doing all of this. So this has been such a great time of being able to have this conversation with everyone. And so what have we talked about? I think, all of my conversations were very substantive conversations. When we talked to um, my good friend Rich Lowry, who is what is he? Oh my goodness. President and Chief Investment Officer at Park Edge Capital. He was the economic advisor for the late Herman Cain. What did we learn? We learned that for every dollar of investment, so Donald Trump is bringing back trillions and trillions of dollars of investment, well over $7 trillion. For every dollar of investment that is placed in the hands of a business, the return on that investment is 45 cents. So 45 cents on every dollar of investment versus if we give that money as a rebate check to the consumer is 7 cents. So which one is better? Do we want to keep putting out rebates and subsidies for this and subsidies for that so people can consume? Or do we want to do things, make policies that allow businesses to take that money and invest? Which one is a better return on our investment? Obviously, it would be the investing in business. And yet, at the same time, as we walk and chew gum, we know that there's a lot of pressure on the middle class. And so here's an opportunity to do both, to walk and chew gum. They're providing a 20% pass through that reduces taxable income for LLCs and sole proprietorships and all of that, but also fully expensing. So that also helps with investing by businesses. Remember, there's a greater return on that. But then also we are increasing the deduction for SALT tax. That's a good thing for the middle class. That kind of allows for some breathing room, right? So they're taking it from $10,000 to $30,000. That is good. Why am I doing this kind of recap? So that you can go out there and have this conversation. Or when Democrats come, as we know they will, and say, oh, it's a tax break for the rich. Go, wait. This is crazy. You are wrong. That's not true. And then you can have a conversation, right? And then I had on Grover Norquist. President Reagan, he used to work with President Reagan, and he started Americans for Tax Reform at Reagan's request. And he talked also that this is one of three, and that was also confirmed, as you remember, by my interview with Congressman Scott Perry, that this is one of three reconciliation bills. So we're not going to get everything in this bill. This bill is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And yet this is the bill that is in front of us. And this bill is going to pass. And if it's going to pass, let me make sure that we got some good stuff in here for the middle for the middle class, those of us in the middle who's carrying the bag for everybody. Go out to my Twitter page. I put up some charts for you there. They're very simple charts. It shows the flow of wealth out of the middle class and into the top 10% in this nation. And I don't have anything, I don't, listen, I am not hating on rich people. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I love the fact that in this country, if you are willing to work hard and keep your nose clean and follow some basic rules, and if you have an idea, you can do some amazing things in this country. I think that's great. What I'm advocating is that we do not become a nation of rulers and renters. Can't own anything because everything is too expensive to own. And in order to do that, we have to stop allowing ourselves to be manipulated by little catchphrases, and actually understand what is going on so that we can hold people's feet to the fire. Sandy is asking me, where are the charts again? Go to my Twitter, now known as X page, at Kathy 4, the number 4 Truth. Kathy 4 Truth. I have it pinned at the top of my page. There are 2 tweets there, and you can look at that. Look at it, print it off, put it on your phone, take a screenshot, send it to some people and say, hey, did you see this? I mean, again, think about it. In 2020, when they were shuttering businesses and destroying people's livelihoods, our nation created 3 million new millionaires. Were you one of those millionaires? If you weren't, I'm telling you, it is by design. And so we have to start having a conversation. This is one of 3. That's what we just learned from Grover and from the congressman. Guys, thank you so much. You have been listening to a special edition of the Kathy Barnette Show. Catch me on Saturdays at 10 a.m. You can also go to YouTube. I have a ton of videos. I'm going to have a lot of these videos. You just heard clips of the interviews. I have full interviews out there. And blessings. Take care. Happy Memorial Day as well. And hopefully you went out and voted. Blessings.
Maybe it's time to take a fresh look at everything we thought we knew about landing a great job. For instance, what if phenomenal careers